Is brain dead hereditary? 4. At the very least you shouldn't be humping another woman while I'm coming. Oh my dearest sweetheart, I'm only able to do it because I'm imagining them as you. There's no way I could take another unless it's your body. Slowly coming before the woman, Qi Jia, secret lover, gently caresses that veil while shooting beams of hypnotic seduction at the foolish woman. Oh yes, my sweet, why are you wearing a veil over your face today? Seeing how her cousin's about to take off the cover, Fu Baoyun hurries to step back out of panic. Tearful there, she urgently protests to her lover, my love, you must help me this time. If you don't then no one else can. Despite the eyes going cold, Qi Jia's, secret lover, face remains ever so gentle with that hypnotic smile. In reality, he would have tossed aside this woman years ago she wasn't still of use. Absolutely, so long it's you then of course I would help. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation as if regaining her backbone. Fu Baoyun immediately replayed the events of today while putting on a heart-wrenching act like she's been betrayed and sullied by those closest to her. Cousin, I was almost killed by that bitch yet the coward still wants to divorce me. It's a blessing in of itself that I married him, based on what can he divorce me? Qi Jia was silent there while a pang of sinister light quickly overtook those eyes, that Bai Yan, she really got pregnant before marriage. And that the demon beast sect intends to submit to her son. Yes, that confirmation was said through grits and stones for the woman. Oh my sweet, let me deal with her then, I'm most adept at dealing with people like her. Raising a glorious smile, this disgusting scum of a person was a shameless piece of shit like the woman here, since she never married when having her child, it can only mean she must have endured an endless amount of scorn from the world. Furthermore, as if there would be any man willing to take a bastard child as their own. So long as I give her some care and love then it's a given that Bai Yan would fall heads over heels for me. Don't assume just because this man named Qi Jia was old that he wouldn't be able to charm the opposite sex, his looks are fantastic for someone that's of middle age. That's also the main reason why he's so confident that he's able to woo the girl over. What? Fu Baoyun literally screamed in horror, you want to seduce her? No, absolutely not. She's already treating me like so, now you want to love her. Growing colder in his face at that rebuttal, if you don't want your brother the king to keep giving you the cold shoulders then this is the only way. But, Bai Yan's side still have a girl there. She keeps calling her sister-in-law. But have you ever seen her husband? Asked the man with those sneering lips. In response, Fu Baoyun could only shake her head in denial. Then that's right, going sharp in his words, she never got married when having that son of hers. In order to salvage her reputation, she must have hired the girl to act as cover because she couldn't get a man to take her. When the time comes, so long as I don't dislike her then surely she would bring her son along and marry me. By then even the young lord of the demon beast sect would be my son. Whether it be the tigress back at home or this stupid woman here, none can get in my way anymore. And the price is merely a tactical flattery of the bastard boy, ha ha ha. Though the walls of the rooms here are all soundproof in design, but that doesn't mean it applies to those who are superior to the norm. For people like Di Xiaowan and Bai Yan who are at a superior level, nothing can escape their ears at such close proximity in the next room. Mother, Bai Xiachen couldn't resist taking another bite from his snacks before asking, is being brain dead a hereditary illness? Caressing her chin as if thinking something, Bai Yan was rather perplexed in her reply, I don't know about those two next door, but I think I can explain why Dong Mu Shui, horrible daughter, is so stupid up there in the head. How so? The baby boy blinks his big blue eyes in confusion, curious to the answer. Coupling between relatives are bound to produce flawed children. Reveal the true face. 1. Turning her head in a somewhat disbelieving fashion, Di Xiaowan was popping her big beautiful eyes. Sister-in-law, what do you mean, are you saying Dong Mu Shui isn't of Dong Ro Qin's blood? Cocking a devilish smile, Bai Yan was non-committal here, just wait and see, you don't need to say anything or do anything. Back in the VIP room, Fu Baoyun continues to eye the naked woman lying there on the bed, her voice growing ever so cold. Cousin, have that woman leave us first. I have something I need to say to you. There was nothing covering that divine body, sadly it's marred by the purplish bruises caused by the man that was mounting her only minutes ago. Otherwise, it would have been impeccable. Looking back over to his little plaything there, Qi Jia was ready to do as requested, only to stop partway when he met those pitiful eyes. As the old saying goes, no man can escape the cry of a true beauty, which was why his very heart was a mushy goop of mess after being melted. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Bao Yun, the girls of the flower brothel are very tight-lipped, so you need not worry. Whatever they hear will not leave this room. Aching in her chest at the insufferable denial, Fu Baoyun doesn't believe a prostitute could have any form of integrity. To her, it can only be that the slut over there had seduced his dearest cousin, that's why he's losing his way. Without a second thought, a murderous intent had gripped the abhorrent woman's pupil. You want to seduce my man? Fine, I will make sure you not make it to see another day. Cousin, gnashing her teeth, Fu Baoyun can only endure this for now. You can really make Bai Yan take the bait? What if you abandon me after taking her? By then what am I supposed to do? He's never seen that dirty woman's face yet. If he did, he might really fall for her and give up on me. Nothing but a woman who got pregnant before marriage. How can a dirty slut like that win my heart? Sneering in his lips, Qi Jia was so full of himself. I am merely doing this for our children, for Mu Shui and Mu Lin's sake. Falling into a panic, Fu Baoyun didn't expect her man to reveal such a big secret in front of a third party. After a good minute of this, she finally settled her nerves. I knew it, only you would hold me and our children to heart. That stupid good-for-nothing Dong Ro Qin is such a useless fool. Even after our son was beaten and bullied, he could still remain indifferent and even forced our daughter to threaten him with her life. Just recalling the weak attitude of her husband would make Fu Baoyun gnash her teeth in anger. Don't you agree, cousin? How could there be such a person in this world? Good thing our children isn't his, otherwise Mu Shui and Mu Lin would be stuck having a good-for-nothing like him as a father. Dong Ruo Qin is indeed really stupid. He raised another man's son and daughter for so many years, yet he believes it's his own. If nothing drastic happens, it's a certainty that the Dong house would become my son's. Others may not know about Fu Tianqi's, king, attitude toward Fu Baoyun, but he sure does, since he's technically a relative of the royal family. That reason alone was enough to kill off any idea of him taking this woman as his concubine. Not only that, he also specifically chose Dong Ro Qin to marry his woman here because of how stupid the man was. It's easier to manipulate both ends easily from the shadow if the puppets are stupid. Meanwhile, outside of the VIP room, Dong Ro Qin was currently standing there like a statue after being struck by lightning. His whole head was a blank due to how explosive the information was to his ear. Dong Ruo Qin is indeed really stupid. He raised another man's son and daughter for so many years, yet he believes it's his own. If nothing drastic happens, it's a certainty that the Dong house would become my son's. These are the only words echoing across the dazed-out man here. Father Chui Feng, 1, effectively older by a decade after that, Dong Tianling, old Lord Dong, was literally quivering in his lips due to how bitterly sad he felt. If you had the foresight to see this outcome, then why did you do that back then? You kneel before your sister and admit you're wrong first. Yes, father. Turning around, the cowardly man slowly came before his sister and squats down to the ground. Sister, I know that you won't forgive me. I was obsessed and lost my ways, forgetting all the good that you gave me. If life has a second chance, I swear I won't ever fail you again. Through the heavy banging of his head, blood begins to ooze out of his forehead due to the impacting blows. Then after 10 repeated kowtows, he finally got up and revealed a calm smile that was dishearteningly painful to watch. Sister, you have a good niece. Humph. Snorting at that comment, Old Lord Lon immediately buts in, of course. Every member of my Lon house is excellent. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation in response to that proud statement by her own grandfather. Bai Yen instantly got dark lines running through her face. Even her mouth was twitching as a result of that overly pompous statement. Bai Yen. Suddenly, an excited voice interrupts the room from the front. Looking up, that's when she saw Chu Yi, Holy Land Princess, came shooting over like a butterfly. Initially Bai Yen wanted to tease the girl for showing up out of the blue, but then her eyes soon caught sight of the pristinely white figure who followed soon afterwards. You came. A faint rippling smile radiated out of the woman's mouth. Indifferent as usual in his tone, the man's gentleman could only be discerned by the flicker of gentleness circulating within those irises. I came to see you. While the subjects themselves were busy in greeting one another, a certain demon princess was having quite the wild ride right now. Popping those big beautiful eyes, Di Xiaowan couldn't believe there would be such a beautiful man in this world. Compared to her own brother, he's only slightly worse while still being superior to the state teacher. Just that, he's too cold. Father. Blinking stars in his cute baby eyes, Bai Xiachen promptly breaks free from his grandfather's embrace and dashed into the man's arm. Revealing a rosy smile at the warm reception, Chu Yifeng met the little steam bun with open arms, a complete turnaround from his former self. All the coldness had dispersed like it never existed. Father, I missed you so much. Peachy in his cheeks over the joy of meeting the man, Bai Xiachen didn't hesitate in the least to curl his arms around Chu Yifeng's neck like how he usually does with his mother. Towards this surreal picturesque scene, Chu Yi can only use the word bittersweet to describe her emotions right now. Her brother clearly had over 5 years to pursue Bai Yen, yet even then he couldn't turn the girl into her true sister-in-law. And look at it now. The true father have appeared, making the road to pursuit that much harder. So you are that father constantly mentioned by Xiachen? Unlike the worried attitude portrayed by the girl, Di Xiaowan on the other hand only had shock and astonishment compared to her peer. Reverting back to his indifferent existence, only then did Chu Yifeng discover this demon princess. Somehow, his eyes felt even colder than when he first entered. Brother, she is Di Xiaowan, Di Tsang's sister. Chu Yi hurries to introduce the two. If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Father Chu Yifeng, too, thank you for taking care of Bai Yen and Xiachen during this period. Giving a nod to the girl, Chu Yifeng immediately covers up his emotions again. Is this man claiming ownership? Di Xiaowan's quickly narrowed in on that statement. But, knitting up her forehead, Di Xiaowan was ready to refuse that request only to stop at the last moment. Towards that pitiful face made by her little nephew, this girl just didn't have the heart to say no. Okay, Auntie will bring you to get some osmanthus cake. Thank you Auntie. Bursting into a gleeful smile, Bai Xiachen knew he succeeded now. The boy's plan was simple, deceive his sweet Dumbaklut's auntie away so she doesn't get into a fight with Chu Yi again. Sure enough, it worked perfectly. Very soon, their figures were gone from the hall, thus leaving the eerily quiet hall in the background. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation, Feng. Facing this man that's as calm as a cool spring breeze, Bai Yen finally worked up the nerve to what's on her mind. Did you come because Yi told you about Di Tsang? Yes, still indifferent and calm, the man answers smoothly. She said you were being picked on really badly by him, and that you were being restricted in your freedom. Also, this letter fell in the hands of your 3 shifas. They flew into a huge rage right after reading it. By the time I started to come, they were already well on their way to the Lu Hua kingdom. Deliberately hiding her own presence knowing full well how guilty she herself was, Chu Yi finally crumbled under that pressuring gaze. Nervous in her tune, I was just kidding. Kidding. Clicking her tongue at the dishonest answer, Bai Yen thrusts her friend into the open. What kidding? You were obviously saying the truth when writing that letter. Isn't that right? Di Tsang, that bastard only knows how to take advantage of me, constantly forcing his ways against my will when I'm not careful. Then there's the matter of squatting around in my home and refusing to leave. Did I take this wrong? Di Tsang never covered a spot in her heart. You, unlike his sister though, Chu Yifeng appears troubled after hearing that statement. Have you always been like that in front of him? Bai Yen have always been either respectful or distant to those who she doesn't like. Even for himself, Chi Yifeng could only get a mild attitude that's neither overly warm nor overly cold when they are talking. But now, the woman's gnashing her teeth at the mention of Di Tsang's name. Suddenly, old Lord Lan interrupts the pair with that awkward cough, his eyes constantly eyeing the new man up and down. Yen, mind introducing us? So that's why, pretending to be enlightened by the information, the old grandpa was beaming with approval in his eyes. I like to thank you, young man. If not your family's kindness, I fear my dear granddaughter there wouldn't have been so well off while away from home. If you like this translation, then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Father is here. 1. Revealing a cool smile, Chu Yifeng readily greets the elder. Yes, my father and mother, and even the whole family likes Yen a lot. Sir Yifeng, I still have some matters to attend to here, so please, wait a bit while I finish up. I would be very much pleased to have you join us afterwards. Despite the estate being his, old Lord Dong didn't have any objections to the idea. The elder knows his family was in the fault here, so he could only keep up with that awkward smile while keeping that mouth shut. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. As for the dastardly man who would murder his own daughter, this person had fallen into a despairing state. Not only was Chu Yifeng many times superior to himself, he can tell the person was likely even stronger than the strongest warrior of the kingdom. And then thinking back to the laughable proclamations he was making back at the flower brothel. Not even a bastard like him can deny how foolish and idiot his plans were. But why would Batty Father kill you? Still holding the newly acquired bag of snacks in his hand, Bai Xiachen dubiously questions the girl. Brother told me to never leave your mother's side, especially when other males are trying to get close to her. Bitter in her frown, she gets all teary. If brother finds out I left while someone is trying to approach her, he would surely beat me to death. The demon princess never feared anything in life, the only exception being her older brother Di Tsang. Well, now there's a second one too, it's Bai Yen. Blinking his cute baby eyes, Bai Xiachen completely disregards that worry. Auntie, you are worrying too much. If mother doesn't like someone, then no one can get into her, this includes father. Then as a finishing blow to calm the girl, also, if I don't say and you don't say, how would Batty Father know? This, but just as the girl was deliberating on the feasibility of that idea, something that caught her eyes from the front had instantly crushed that hope. It seems it's too late now. Not far away, an overwhelmingly powerful aura was suffocating her, sending the poor demon princess into a numbing paralysis. Likewise, the baby boy also shivered in response, dropping the precious packet of snacks to the ground. Oh no, why would Batty Father come now of all times? By then, who am I supposed to help? Tied by the predicament, Bai Xiachen was very perplexed by the choices laid before him. Then, as if making up his mind, he quickly whispers at the girl beside him, Auntie, you stay here and keep Batty Father busy. I will go back and hide Father before they meet. After finishing his order, the baby boy completely ditches the demon princess in the background and dashed for the Dong family's estate like a gust of wind during a hurricane. Xiachen, wait for me, oh gracious, I don't want to be left alone with him. Turning around like a mechanical cogwheel, Di Xiaowan meekly smiled at this man who's hailed as the lord and master of the demon realm. Talk about unsightly, she shouldn't have even tried to smile, for it's even worse than someone crying. If you like this translation, then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Reveal the true face. 5. Getting a hold of her own daughter's hand, Fu Baoyun wanted to get out of the VIP room before things take a turn for the worse when a cold and indifferent voice stopped her. Where do you think you're going? Going stiff in her back, the abhorrent woman could only return her head out of duress. What, you want to go back on your words? You promised to let me go back in the palace. Chuckling at that comment, Bai Yan was amused by how foolish her foe was still. I only asked Dong Ro Qin not to regret his choice. When did I ever promise I would let you go? At that, the abhorrent woman's complexion finally devolved into a deathly white shade. Fear had completely invaded her heart, for she knew that's the case. Indeed, Bai Yan never said she will let her go. Pa! Then from out of nowhere, Lan Xiaoyun suddenly ran up to the woman and sent a direct slap across that dumbfounded face. This translation is only hosted on K-Translation. This slap is for my grandparents. They must have endured no shortages of frustration as a result of your outrageous demands over the years. If not for my grandma's soul being so strong, she would have been long sent to the graves by you. Pa! Then came another. This second slap is for myself. Who do you think you are? I am a daughter of the Lan house. When did you get the right to dictate my marriage? Pa! This third slap is for Redzi. Ever since cousin gave my grandfather Redzi, she have never been induced to such injustice and pain. How dare you order others to torture her? Just thinking of all the wounds on the phoenix would incite the girl to boil over into tears of guilt and duress. Pa! This last slap is for my mother. After you married into the Dong house, everyone indulged you and lauded you, all because my mother refused to become the king's consort. For that reason alone, you kept picking on her, claiming she would regret it. What is so great about being the king? Can he even hold his own against my cousin here? My mother made the right choice in choosing my father, otherwise Bai Yan wouldn't have been my cousin. Already a sobbing mess, even her hands were shaking all over due to the intense emotion. The girl had long wanted to dish out these slaps, but due to her uncle and mother's connection, Lan Xiaoyun had stuffed it in despite her personality. To be able to vent everything out in full blast, words cannot begin to describe her emotions right now. Lan Xiaoyun. Roaring out at the person attacking her own mother, Dong Mu Shui, horrible daughter, rushes forward with her claws drawn. She may be afraid of Bai Yan's might, but she's not going to fear Lan Xiaoyun, her cousin. After all, from young to now, everyone around her had forced the other side to submit, hence the reason why she would be so pompous still despite everything that's occurred. But this time though, things are different. As if Lan Xiaoyun would continue to yield to that idiotic girl who wasn't even a legitimate child of the Dong house. With her legs drawn, she was ruthless without a morsel of mercy. In one kick, that's all it took for Lan Xiaoyun to send her foe flying out until Dong Mu Shui smashed into the nearby table. For more than 10 years, I've kept my patience with you all because I wanted to keep the peace at home. But in the end, all my kindness ends up wasted on an illegitimate girl like you. Sore in her heart, the poor girl became so overwhelmed that she didn't know how to express herself anymore. It's already bad enough that you would regularly pick on Dong Ro Qin, the man who considered you his own daughter, yet you continued to attack my mother even after she married into the Lan house. Based on what can a brat like you hold an elder in contempt? It just goes to show how disappointed she was at the man if the Lan Xiaoyun was unwilling to call Dong Ro Qin uncle there. Sure enough, this form of address didn't go unnoticed by the subject himself. Issuing out a sigh, the cowardly man clearly felt guiltier than ever in his past actions. If you want to cry then cry. It was then Bai Yan came strolling over to her cousin's side to help soothe the girl's unstable emotion. A stupefied Di Xiao Wan, stiff in her body, the next thing Bai Yan knew was herself being pulled into a possessive embrace by an arrogant and egotistic man. Yan, you really are naughty. Why didn't you wait for me before leaving? Showing a faint smile, this enchanting figure somehow eluded a scent of danger, like he's about to devour her whole so that they would become one. If these two were to meet, surely a huge fight would ensue. This. Caressing her forehead, she hurries to make an excuse like her son, "Grandfather, I'm not feeling so well. I'll leave this matter to you while I return to the Luhua kingdom. I must first drag Ditsang away because they make contact." As an elder with much experience, how can old Lord Lon not know what his granddaughter was thinking? Then adding in the possessive nature of this dangerous man, he can already imagine the impending outcome. "Okay, you two should go back right away then. Don't worry, we will handle everything here." This translation is only hosted on K-translation. Sadly, the man was unfazed by the gesture. Squinting his eyes, Ditsang-gru looked even more suspicious now. "You are also hiding something from me." "No, I'm not," she hurries and deny it. "Then where is Xiachen? You wouldn't leave without him." Raising a Ningli hypnotic smirk that can make a girl fall over, he pulls her back in. Yen, are you hiding someone?" Despite skipping a beat at that remark, Bai Yen continues to force herself to be calm. "What are you saying?" "I'm leaving because I know he will be in good hands with my grandfather here." "Is it now?" That grin was getting very spooky. "I hope you haven't forgotten what I said before now, have you? If you dare seek out another man, I will kill him as well as anyone else that comes afterward. Until none would dare approach you again." Now that's what you call arrogant and overbearing. Not even a peep could be heard from the crowd gathered here today, not in front of this dangerous man anyways. However, there's bound to be an idiot that's stupid enough to seek their own death. PFFF. Puffing out a shower of blood from her mouth, this woman truly was relentless in her death-seeking ways because even then she still wants to speak out. Not missing this at all, Lan Xiaoyun follows up with another face punch to shatter those teeth. "How dare you hurt my mother? How dare you try to force me to marry your disgusting nephew?" Squashing down at the abhorrent woman's face with her feet, the young girl takes the lead in coining a story. Cousin-in-law, I say this woman just don't know when to give up. She's still trying to ask for forgiveness even when it's come to this. Out of fear for my mother going soft, I went ahead and shut her up." Puking out another mouthful of blood, Fu Baoyun just couldn't believe this. What beg for mercy? She's trying to expose them all for hiding that man from this one. Moreover, if Dong Rulan wasn't willing to forgive Dong Ruochin by this point, what chances does she have? You can beat her all you like. If she dies then I will take care of it for you. Even that tone was warmer than when he first entered. If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. A stupefied Di Xiao Wan, too, cousin-in-law, Lan Xiaoyun deviously snickered a laugh as she pointed at Qi Jiao, secret lover. This bastard is delusional enough to want to marry my cousin. Seriously, did he not look in the mirror at all? Such an ugly face, and he wants to compete with my cousin-in-law. Shivering there with incredulous in his eyes, Qi Jia only had horror left to depict his emotions. Di Tsang's aura was simply too overbearing and dangerous that he could not control his fear. "You want to marry my wife?" The voice was very low, like a mountain crushing down, thus forcing the murderer to falter to the ground in a kneeling position. He wanted to scream out an excuse, but before he could, Di Tsang had already raised a hand at him. This translation is only hosted on K-translation. "No, I don't want to die." Boom! Then came another blow, followed by a spurt of blood from his mouth. "Help me!" His head powerlessly hits the floorboard as he curled into a fetus position. It's one thing if he died by the knife in one go, but to be forced to watch the blood exploding out of his body in a mist form, that's not a pain some mere human can take. Likewise, the entire audience were also left in a shocked state. They too have never seen something so cruel and spooky. That's not something at the level of taking a punch or a blade, it's directly forcing the blood molecule to rupture and blow apart from within. Go home. Surprisingly, the dangerous man actually forgot to pursue the issue at hand and shifts his focus back onto the woman. softening in his voice, okay, as you wish. All was going well, it should have been perfect. Sadly, fate likes to play with people. Just when the pair was about to step through the doorway, a loud exclaiming cry from the outside had halted their movement. Not good, not good. Sister-in-law, my brother is coming. The damsel who was dressed in pink didn't know it yet at first, but as soon as she's managed to catch sight of the man in question, that's when she was blown away. Stammering in her voice, brother. How did you get here so fast? Brother, I was just joking around. It's really just a joke. Seeing how ugly his brother's expression was getting, Di Xiaowan knew it's too late. Gulping hard, she forces an unsightly smile that couldn't fool a soul. It's over. This time brother will definitely skin me alive and hang me up for a beating. I ordered you to look after Yan Yan, and what do? You conceive against me and tells her to flee. Gloomier than ever in that face, Di Tsang's grin was unnervingly hair-raising. Not like that. Then are you implying I'm not worthy of Yan Yan? Slowly releasing the woman in his embrace, Di Tsang begins to encroach upon the foolish girl who wouldn't stop digging her own grave. If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Father versus Father, 1, no, how is that possible? Di Xiaowan hurries to retreat a few steps, royal brother, you are wise, powerful, unrivaled, and most good-looking too. Unless it's you with sister-in-law, there's no other who can be such a perfect match. Repeating those words for good knows how long, the demon princess finally caved and turns to Bai Yan for help with those soppy eyes of hers. In response to that plea, Bai Yan can only use the bottom of a pot to describe her face. Now she knows why her son would call this girl a sweet dumbaklutz, it's too perfect. How can someone rampage into a place without first confirming the situation? Now look what happened, all her efforts were for naught. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation by Yan's only hope now was that her son would be able to stabilize Chui Feng over at the palace. Only by doing so will the two male not cross paths today. Unfortunately for this wishful woman, just when she's ready to help close the curtain for the sweet dumbaklutz, a familiar aura had caused her to go stiff from the front. The baby boy really did try hard to drag his target away, he truly did. Sadly, Di Tsang's aura was simply too big that even Chui Feng who was over 100 meters away by then could feel it. Afraid it was someone coming to make trouble for Bai Yan, this man in white no longer cared for anything else and directly rushed back to the estate despite the baby boy's protest. Finally averting his gaze from his sister, Di Tsang focuses in on the newcomer. Yan Yan, is this the man whom you were trying to hide from me? He is Xiaqin's father. Since it's come to this, Bai Yan figured there's no point in hiding it anymore and confessed to the whole thing. As for the demon princess, she knows very well she's the one at fault here. Sliding to one corner in silence, she lowers her head almost to the point of touching the floorboard. Of course, when one party worries then there's bound to be another who's happy. Fu Baoyun was literally laughing in ecstasy at this scene. However, the more she wanted to laugh, the more her voice refused to come out. Under the heavy and depressing atmosphere of this eerie silence, Bai Yan thought a fight was inevitable right now. However, just when she wanted to go persuade the two, Di Tsang's low and calm voice had knocked her logic right out of the roof. I have to thank you for taking care of my wife and children for all these years. What? What's going on here? Forget about the abhorrent woman who was gloating over the confrontation. Everyone else here were also popping their eyes at the unexpected statement. As it stands to reason, two male competing for one woman should be in a fight by now. Why did it turn out to be so polite? Cool and calm without a speck of fluctuation in his face, Chui Feng replies in kind like the cloud in the sky, you don't have to thank me. If it weren't for you then there wouldn't be Xiaqin's birth, and without him then there wouldn't be the years of companionship between us three. Maybe it's due to the way that sentence was phrased, or maybe it's the lack of emotional change, but Di Tsang appears to threatened when he made a grab for Bai Yan's hand. I indeed missed out on a lot over the years, but I will have a lifetime to be with my wife and children from now on. If you like this translation, then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Father versus G. Oh, father, too, do you know how miserable she was when she first appeared back then? From indifference to a layer of sadness, Chu Yifeng's voice definitely got more serious, like he's interrogating his foe. Over this questioning, Di Tsang could only clasp his hand harder, like the action alone would be enough to make the woman stay by his side for good. When the elders brought her back from the outside, she was bloody all over, like someone that's been salvaged from a pool of blood. There were no good parts on her. Despite that, she continued to protect her son even in a coma. Where were you then? Where were you when she was in danger? Hanging her eyes low, Bai Yan didn't know how to face her guardian angel. She knew the man had feelings for her all along. Unfortunately, her heart only had room for him as a brother, a family member, that's all and nothing else. Time had once again frozen over due to this. No one spoke, nor would they want to when the one speaking was so cool and charming. While everyone was entranced by the story, there was one individual who was very much enraged, and that was old Lord Lan. This grandfather had thought Bai Yan was living very well during her time away from home. Never did he expect how harsh the conditions truly were out there. If a washing machine was around, it would be equivalent to ripping his heart out and thrusting it in there with a bunch of knives so it can run for a good cycle. That's how much aching pain his heart felt right now. The Bai house. It's all their fault. After I return to the Lu Hua kingdom, I will never let those people get away. This man knows how to apologize too. It is all my fault. Yen, grasping hard on both of her hands, Di Tsang grew even more forceful. If only I had found you and our son earlier, then maybe you wouldn't have had to suffer so much out there alone. I promise you, in the future I will never let any more harm come your way. She honestly didn't know how to respond to that vow, nor did she know how to face him, because her heart definitely skipped a beat like a woman falling in love. However, maybe it's the trauma from her previous life, or the disgusting display of all the poor men in this world, but her mind had subconsciously ignored that small flicker of feeling without her notice. As the old saying goes, wealth comes with risks and danger. If not for the hurdles she faced thus far, would she be the current her? Of course not. My wife need not those things. Whatever you want, I can give you it and more. Amused by that remark, Bai Yan stroked her chin like a devious imp ready to play her trick. I want you to stay far, far away from me. Would you be able to do that? Aside from that. Humph, snorting at the refusal, Bai Yan knew he would say that. If you can't stay away, then I can. Not missing the flirtatious conversation between the pair, Chu Yifeng finally couldn't keep still anymore. Yen, can I have a moment alone with you? I have something I like to discuss with you. First musing over the request, Bai Yan was ready to give her approval by nodding when the overbearing man beside her cries out in objection. I won't allow it. Di Tsang. Bai Yan roars. When are you coming back? Talk about a quick turnaround. Sister-in-law only roared at him. Now he's changing his tune. If you like this translation, then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. The man whom gave her warmth, originally Bai Yan thought Di Tsang would definitely blockade herself from going. Yet, the unexpected occurred, which was beyond her expectations. In reality, she was already regretting that question the second she asked. Why? Because Di Tsang had hooked his powerful arms around her waist and snuck a smooch on those tender lips. I don't need to eat any medicine. I only need to eat you. This man is so vexing. He simply won't let a single chance slide when teasing me. Knowing full well he succeeded, evident by the tightly clasped fist from Chu Yifeng, Di Tsang raises a cheeky grin like he's the superior man right now. This translation is only hosted on Ka Translation. Let's go, she urges her brother to move. In response to this, Chu Yifeng eventually loosens his clenched fist and makes a warming smile. Okay. Under the peach blossom tree of this autumn's day, a man of white and a female of red now stood eye to eye in front of one another. Their figures enchantingly mesmerizing. Yifeng, is there something you need to say? Bai Yan asks. Yifeng, I am sorry. In the end, I will have to betray his feelings. Shaking his head with a bittersweet smile, when have you ever done anything that needs to be sorry about? Everything I did was according to my own will, my own feelings. If I never demanded repayment from the start, then how can I demand a relationship now? Actually, Yi is right about me, I should have pursued you much earlier. Maybe then you would have accepted me. However, I simply couldn't force myself onto you. I thought that by being good to you that you would respond to my feelings. Yan, you are both my light and the love of my soul. I fear I wouldn't be able to forget you in this entire lifetime. Pausing there when no response ever came, Chu Yifeng appears to be struggling to continue, just that. Even though I know you won't return my feelings, I still want to be your shield, your support. Yifeng, why go so far for me? If there's no love, then there's no love. Her feelings won't just randomly change from family bond to the sort of love between a man and woman. Perhaps it's my own sin. Ever since I met you, I knew I wouldn't be able to take in another woman for my heart. Gently raising his hand, the man in white places it onto the peach blossom tree like he's remembering something. Towards this type of obsession, I'm sure Ditsang can also relate to me. Isn't that right? Ditsang, that B-A-S-T-R-D kept spouting C-R-P like chopping off my leg and arms whenever he pleases. Then there's also that night on the bed, he almost went all the way in front of our son. If you like this translation, then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. The real scum of all people. 3. First glancing down at the dagger inside her chest, then back at her own father whom she worships like a god, she finally asked, why? The girl's eye appears to be shocked still and couldn't believe the scene. Don't blame me, blame your mother. If not for her selfishness in dragging me down with her, I wouldn't have done this. The bastard grins, pleased by what he has done. That's what you get for dragging me down at the end. If I must die, then I let you have a good ending either. Making a heavy thud upon her collapse, it's obvious there's an enormous amount of regret in the young girl's face. She can't even close those eyes of hers in the end. Twisted in her face over the loss of her daughter, Fu Baoyun roars out in extreme pain, you bastard, you actually killed your own daughter, your own flesh and blood. And whose fault is that? Ruthless in his punch across the woman's face, he actually sneered at his former partner, if not for a tramp like you then I would have never fallen into such a state. If I'm going to die then I'm going to drag our children along with us. You, shivering there as she points at the dastardly man, Fu Baoyun grew worried over the threat, what are you planning to do with our son? Cruel in his smile, Qi Jia had no qualms about his twisted logic, do you think that tigress back at my home would let him live? If I was alive then I could still protect our son, but if I'm dead, you think he will get away? Why would the Qi family be so dry in their lineage over the years? Of course it's because of that tigress back at home. That woman was as vicious as this man, murdering any possible baby before it could come into this world. If such a person were to learn of Dong Mulin's existence, surely she would take to drastic means of murdering him in one way or another. Trembling all over, Fu Baoyun now regrets it with all her might. She only knew Qi Jia failed her earlier, never had she ever taken into consideration what would befall her son if they are finished here today. Whatever words the two of you have to say, save it for when you enter the demon beast forest. We don't have time to listen to your nonsenses. Wrinkling his forehead, old Lord Lan was quite impatient at this point when his eyes caught sight of the cowardly man. Fu Baoyun and her man is now done with, but there's still the matter with him. What sort of answer is the Dong house going to give me for Dong Ro Qin? Shuddering for a second there, Dong Tianling was a bit reluctant to answer. No matter what, the man's still his son. May I know what sort of answer is in-law looking for? First, he must leave the Dong house for good. Second, our Lan house will continue to welcome both of you to visit in the future, but Roland will never return here again in the future. For his daughter-in-law to suffer so much grievances inside this home over the years, there's no way he will be merciful, not after finally learning the truth. As for the subject herself, Dong Rulan only pursed her lips and remained silent. It's quite obvious her brother's behavior thus far had thoroughly hurt her heart. If they continue to meet in the future, she might not be able to control her emotions and lash out in anger. This, Dong Tianling was startled. Turning his sight towards his daughter, he wants to hear it from the girl herself. Daughter, is this also your wish? Responding with a bittersweet smile, Dong Rulan finally got the chance to say her story. Back when Fu Baoyun demanded I hand over my daughter to be used as a gift for her nephew, Dong Ruqin was there too. He not only didn't help me, he just stood there and watched. Such behavior, how can I not be disheartened? During their childhood both siblings were very good in their relationship, mainly because of how often Dong Rulan took a beating for her younger brother. Even so, she never regretted her actions back then for her brother's sake. But what did she get in return after all those years of love and protection she gave him? Nothing, that's what. She's tired already, so tired that she may never be able to forgive her younger brother again in this lifetime. Sister, trembling in his lip, Dong Ruqin had no face left to meet his sister's gaze. Closing his eyes in pain, he truly regrets it all. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Despite the genuine apology, Dong Rulan had no reply for it. Father, suddenly popping his eyes wide open, he turns to his father. I am willing to leave the Dong house until sister is willing to forgive me. Godfather Chui Feng, 1, effectively older by a decade after that, Dong Tianling, old Lord Dong, was literally quivering in his lips due to how bitterly sad he felt. If you had the foresight to see this outcome, then why did you do that back then? You kneel before your sister and admit you're wrong first. Yes, father. Turning around, the cowardly man slowly came before his sister and squats down to the ground. Sister, I know that you won't forgive me. I was obsessed and lost my ways, forgetting all the good that you gave me. If life has a second chance, I swear I won't ever fail you again. Through the heavy banging of his head, blood begins to ooze out of his forehead due to the impacting blows. Then after 10 repeated kowtows, he finally got up and revealed a calm smile that was dishearteningly painful to watch. Sister, you have a good niece. Humph. Snorting at that comment, old Lord Lan immediately butts in, of course. Every member of my Lan house is excellent. This translation is only hosted on Katranslation in response to that proud statement by her own grandfather. Bai Yen instantly got dark lines running through her face. Even her mouth was twitching as a result of that overly pompous statement. Bai Yen. Suddenly, an excited voice interrupts the room from the front. Looking up, that's when she saw Chu Yi, Holy Land Princess, came shooting over like a butterfly. Initially Bai Yen wanted to tease the girl for showing up out of the blue, but then her eyes soon caught sight of the pristinely white figure who followed soon afterwards. You came. A faint rippling smile radiated out of the woman's mouth. Indifferent as usual in his tone, the man's gentleman could only be discerned by the flicker of gentleness circulating within those irises. I came to see you. While the subjects themselves were busy in greeting one another, a certain demon princess was having quite the wild ride right now. Popping those big beautiful eyes, Di Xiao one couldn't believe there would be such a beautiful man in this world. Compared to her own brother, he's only slightly worse while still being superior to the state teacher. Just that, he's too cold. Godfather. Blinking stars in his cute baby eyes, Bai Shichen promptly breaks free from his grandfather's embrace and dashed into the man's arm. Revealing a rosy smile at the warm reception, Chu Feng met the little steam bun with open arms, a complete turnaround from his former self. All the coldness had dispersed like it never existed. "Godfather, I missed you so much." Peachy in his cheeks over the joy of meeting the man, Bai Xiachen didn't hesitate in the least to curl his arms around Chu Feng's neck like how he usually does with his mother. Towards this surreal picturesque scene, Chu can only use the word bittersweet to describe her emotions right now. Her brother clearly had over 5 years to pursue Bai Yan, yet even then he couldn't turn the girl into her true sister-in-law. And look at it now. The true father have appeared, making the road to pursuit that much harder. "So you are that godfather constantly mentioned by Xiachen?" Unlike the worried attitude portrayed by the girl, Di Xiaowan on the other hand only had shock and astonishment compared to her peer. Reverting back to his indifferent existence, only then did Chu Feng discover this demon princess. Somehow, his eyes felt even colder than when he first entered. "Brother, she is Di Xiaowan, Di Tsang's sister." Chu hurries to introduce the two. Want to protect his mother, Bai Yan's mouth was twitching. What difference is there from several months ago? Nevertheless, the very fact that her baby boy was willing to go through such efforts to protect herself was a heartwarming scene in of it itself. Pulling the little steam bun in, she gives the boy a snorkeling kiss to express her joy. "Xiachen, you really are mother's precious darling. There's nothing for me to regret with you here in my life. Now even my own son is here to compete with me. Seriously, did this little twerp forget who's the one responsible for letting him come into this world? Di Tsang." The woman slams down at the bed. "Why are you yelling at my son? If it was anyone else talking to this man like that they would have been torn to shreds already." Fortunately this wasn't just anyone, it's Bai Yan herself, the ultimate weak point of the demon lord. Being favored tends to make a person fearless. This logic applies to everything in life. With that said, the man didn't give any room for refusal and had the boy up for departure. Under the glistening light of the night's moon, one man and one boy of extreme likeness now stood eye to eye, their faces unyielding on both corners. "Do you want to protect your mother?" The man's voice rang out, giving the darkness an echoing effect. Towards that sudden question, Bai Xiachen actually didn't know how to take it. Blinking his big baby eyes, it took him a minute to come up with an answer. "I am a man, so of course I have to protect my mother and sister." "Who taught these words to you?" Narrowing down on his eyes, Di Tsang's gaze exuded the very essence of danger in every manner. "Sister told me. She said a man must protect those dear to him, meaning I have to protect mother from bad guys like you." Poor girl, just like that Chu was completely sold by the boy. Evoking a very dense smile, Di Tsang's face was exceptionally dark. "She told you I was bullying your mother?" Naturally Bai Xiachen wouldn't understand the danger of this question, therefore, the only response he had was to tilt his head and nod like a good boy that he was. "We will leave this matter alone for now. Firstly, you say you want to protect your mother, but let me tell you something, you are not qualified yet." However, a light beams out of Di Tsang's eye as a sinister smile quickly forms around his mouth. "If you can persuade your mother to follow me back to the demon realm, there would be a way. As the prince of all demons in the world, you are free to enjoy the resources at your disposal. Only like that can you quickly grow into the existence that you want." Demon realm? This was the first time Bai Xiachen ever heard of such a place. Puzzled in his cute little face, he asked, "Is the demon realm far? If I go then would I be able to see my uncle and aunties and them again? What about great-grandmother and great-grandfather, would they be there too?" Getting no answer yet, Di Tsang continues to brainwash the child to get his ways. "There will be more enemies to encounter in the future. If you aren't stronger by then, who will protect your mother? Don't forget, you are a demon yourself. Only by being inside the demon realm can you find the most suitable method of training." Bai Xiachen's talent have always been very high, making him superior to every human child that's come his way. In some cases, even a human adult would lose out to him during combat. For Di Tsang to say something like this, it can only mean the enemies indicated here are not human, but something much, much more. If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. The knot inside Bai Yan's heart, 1, and what if mother is unwilling? Whether or not you can convince your mother will depend on your ability. In order to chase after his wife, the poor man have quite literally used everything within his means. Now to have a son at his disposal, why wouldn't he use him? Baddie father, will mother be in danger if she goes to the demon realm? Wrinkling his cute little brows, the baby boy was all innocent with those big blue eyes. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. No, I won't let anyone hurt her. Rubbing his son's head, Di Tsang reaffirms his stance. Looking at the little guy's protective appearance, Di Tsang could no longer keep up his usual deadpan face. Making a smirk of arrogance, if I wanted to force her then she would have been in the demon realm by now. Alright then baddie father. But first I'm hungry. Rubbing his belly, the baby boy peers up at his old man with antic Asian in those eyes. Do you know how to cook? In response to this question, Di Tsang can only say he's getting dark lines running through his face. There are cooks in the estate. Hanging his disappointed head down, Bai Xiachen lays out the truth of his predicament. I only like mother's cooking. Because of how busy she's been lately, I couldn't have anything good to eat. I'm hungry. Oh. Maybe I should look for father, maybe he will know how to cook for me. No, Hing his son before he could go anywhere. Di Tsang inhales deeply like he just accepted his fate. Alright, I will personally cook for you. For this careless demand, the ones to suffer the most had to be the members of the Dong house. They couldn't sleep, not even for a minute due to the unnerving sounds of explosion from their kitchen. Then when old Lord Dong went to investigate, the poor old man was immediately stopped at the entrance by the ferocious-looking GLA's dragon. Next day morning, the disturbance has finally ceased from the epicenter. Firstly was Di Tsang coming out of the kitchen. As usual, he remains as impeccable as ever without a speck of dust on his body. The same clean robe of black from yesterday. The same meticulously groomed hair of silvery shade. If anything, he was even more attractive after working all night. As for the baby boy who went in with him, Bai Xiachen on the other hand wasn't so fortunate. He was full of grievance in his expression when coming out. The reason? Well, considering how dirty his face was, covered in soot and dust, it's no wonder he'd be unhappy. Mother, I missed you so much. I really miss your dompa meat, braised pork knuckle, and salt-baked chicken. How did you end up like this? Seeing how dirty his son was, Bai Yan inexplicably furrowed her brow in response. Did you two go overboard last night in the kitchen? Tugging at his mother's sleeve in a pitiful manner, baddie father specifically went into the kitchen to learn how to cook for you. You must accept it, okay? Okay, my son. Seeing the state of her son's face, Bai Yan can only agree wholeheartedly to the point where she completely missed the strangeness in the boy's tune. If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. The knot inside Bai Yan's heart, 2, this is for you. From Di Tsang's reached out hand, Bai Yan can see a white little fox there on the palm. It was a sculpture made of white radish that looked almost lifelike. If placed within a patch of GRA's, one might really mistake it for the real thing from afar. Then I'm returning it to you. Nearly tossing it away out of reflex, there were no delays in how fast she stuffed it back into the man's possession. I can't afford such a thing. Only a little fox carving made up of white radish and he wants me to bestow myself onto him. I'm not that cheap. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. You don't like it? Wrinkling his brow, Di Tsang asks again, then what would you like? Caressing her chin, Bai Yan's line of sight inadvertently fell upon the big open sky. Now that's when her lips curved into a devious smile. I want the celestial realm. Can you give it to me? Celestial realm? Di Tsang was silent. Okay, toddling behind her, the baby didn't forget to give his big bad father a wink, indicating everything will be in his hands now. Mother, do you really want Batty Father to take the celestial realm for you? Tilting his cute little head, Bai Xiachen asks. Halting in her steps, Bai Yan was hesitant at first. Nevertheless, she decides to tell the truth. I only wanted to let him know when to back off. Everyone knows the celestial realm isn't real. So mother, you don't like Batty Father? Wrinkling his tiny nose, the baby boy realizes now how troublesome that would be if it was the case. Going stiff in her body, Bai Yan clearly didn't think she would be asked such a question by her boy. Son, I know you are different from those ordinary children out there, and I can see you are able to understand more than what your age perceives. The baby boy then lowered his head before replying as if he was confused by the explanation, but Batty Father said he won't let anyone hurt you, mother. Amused by his son's troubled face, Bai Yan attempts to explain her reasoning. Know this, my son, everyone has a past life prior to their current one. My former life is in a place called China. Reflecting back to her memories of old, Bai Yan gently closes her eyes to relish in the images flickering across her mind. In the past, my former parents were deeply in love with one another. Our family of 3 were very happy at the time. Unfortunately, fate wasn't kind to my grandfather. He ended up provoking an enemy too powerful to fend against. And as a sacrifice for the stability of the family, my father abandoned him in the time of need. Even before coming into this world, Bai Yan was already part of an ancient martial arts family in China. And her parents, they are childhood friends, so both families would often collaborate together to fend off any enemies. Caressing her son's head, Bai Yan attempts to cover up the pain that's circulating in her eyes. My mother couldn't bear to let my grandfather face the danger alone. So, she dashed into the crisis with only one sword in hand. That year I was only 5. My father just watched on the sidelines as my mother and grandfather perished in a pool of blood. I pleaded for him to save my mother, but he refused at the end. In truth, if both families had joined forces like before, then they might have been able to defeat the enemy. Unfortunately, he wouldn't budge. He didn't have the courage, that's why. If you like this translation, then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. The knot inside Bai Yan's heart. 3. Men truly are a laughable species. When life is stable and secure, he will promise you everything. But when danger comes knocking, he will abandon you without remorse. And it was precisely because of this life-changing event that I worked strenuously to increase my cultivation. Eventually I did avenge my mother, but I couldn't stop then. Those that stayed by my side left me one by one, all because I neglected them for power. Opening her eyes, Bai Yan's face now carried a smile that somehow hurts just by peering at it. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. I still don't understand. Hovering between understanding and confusion, the baby boy nevertheless states his opinion. However, I won't ever leave you, mother, and I believe Batty Father won't either. Inside the backyard of the estate, a big red bird had just landed on the ground. My king, is something the matter in summoning me so urgently? Transforming into a man of red, this bird was the very same phoenix subordinate that Di Tsang brought along from the demon realm. Pa-s word back to the state teacher. Have him gather the elites from every demon tribe and toss them into the demon mirror. The demon mirror was the secret training ground of the demon realm. In order to open the entrance, even just once, it would require enormous energy. Now Di Tsang wants to toss everyone inside. Shuddering for a second there on the ground, the man of red attempts to dissuade the demon lord. My king, I implore you to reconsider the idea. There's no need. Raising a tyrannical smile of epic proportion, Di Tsang answers without hesitation, tell him we are attacking the celestial realm. What? What? Attacking the celestial realm? The king wants to attack the celestial realm? Did he go mad? My king, our demon realm has been sealed by centuries. shouldn't we reconsider the idea first? Neither annoyed nor angered, Di Tsang lays it out bare for his subordinate, if my queen wants the celestial realm then it shall be done. What's more, it's time we settled the score with those celestials for the debt they instilled upon our race millennia ago. While one side was readying for war, the other was having a good time with their family members. You're here, but where's Lord Sung? Seeing how the girl was only with her son in coming over, old Lord Lon didn't forget to ask his granddaughter this important fact. Smiling at the question, Bai Yen didn't get angry because she knew it would be like this. He will come soon afterwards. Grandfather, why don't we return home first on the dragon's back? Getting the signal, the GLA's dragon first utters a low moaning cry before lowering his body in preparation for the people to embark on its back. Nodding at her second cousin's suggestion, Bai Yen agrees with the boy's idea. There are too many soldiers here. As big as the dragon was, there's just not enough room. Casting her gaze over to Chu Holy Land Princess, Bai Yen didn't forget to ask, where's your brother? If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. The knot inside Bai Yan's heart, for Chu was startled at first. First shaking that head of hers, she answers honestly, I don't know either. He told me earlier in the morning that he has something to attend to and that he will meet us in the Lu Hua kingdom later. Something to attend to? Furrowing her brow, Bai Yen begins to wonder. It's all father's fault for not making me a boy instead. Otherwise, I could have pursued Bai Yen instead of leaving to my dumb brother. The girl's mood was definitely not very good, especially when her stupid brother had left without putting up a fight against his rival Di Tsang. As skeptical as that look was on Bai Yan's face, she didn't pursue the topic and pushed onward. Alright, we will go back first then. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation since her background has been fully disclosed now through various sources, there's no longer a need to keep the Bai house around anymore. It's time she went back and cleared them out. The Lu Hua kingdom. The first to dismount from the serpent was Chu in Di Shao Wan, followed quickly by a reddish figure with her precious little steam bun. Mistress, you are back. The one coming to receive them was none other than Hualuo, the head of the flower brothel. Aha, showing a bright smile at her faithful subordinate, Bai Yen inquires about any changes while they were away. Did anything occur during these couple of days while I was away? Reporting to mistress, the other day when Ru came to see you. But when he heard you were absent, he immediately left. When Ru? He came to see me. Did a problem occur during his work? The young boy called Wen Ru was someone whom lost to Bai Yen during a compet. Tian. Since then, the lad had sworn loyalty and now leads the alchemist team founded by the woman. According to their agreement, unless the situation was dire or huge, the boy was instructed not to bother her. Holy Land. Bai Yan's nearly laughed at that silly question. She herself was from there, so how can she not know about its existence? Are you referring to them recruiting people? If so then I already know. Regarding hers and Chu Yi's origin, Bai Yen had never mentioned it once before the public, that's why Hualuo would ask such a question. Mistress, your brother Sir Shao is aiding in the recruitment process of the Holy Land. Releasing a helpless sigh, the charming woman appears powerless in her voice when stating this. Bai Yen was startled there for a moment. You are saying my brother wants to enter the Holy Land? Bai house? Tightly wrinkling her brow, Bai Yen didn't think that horrendous family would start trouble again this quickly. All she did was leave for a few days. Furthermore, there's no illusion in her mind that those people would be this kind. Hualuo, tell me the specifics. From those murderous eyes, an overflowing amount of killing intent was exuding out of her enchanting figure. If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Endure. 1. Out of reflex, Bai Yen shifts her gaze over to Chu which in turn made the princess shrug her shoulders like she didn't have a clue. Is that man blind or something? Di Xiaowan was quite jumpy due to her own anger. I've already shaved the girl's head. How could they even get together in that state? Towards that question, Hualuo had the answer. He's not blind, just the man has a special fetish for nuns. Then what's the deal with the Bai house registering my brother for the recruitment process? Dark in her face, Bai Yan coldly asks. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation, showing a bitter smile. Hualuo apparently didn't know how to handle the situation either. I'm not sure how the Bai house managed to do this, but they have managed to persuade the man to ignore all the rumors out in the public. Now that individual will only listen to Bai Ji and her stories, thus allowing that family to make waves again while you were away, mistress. Not even the demon beast sect are able to halt their arrogance. Now this leaves to question, why would the Holy Land suddenly come outside to recruit people? Contemplating the idea for a good while, Bai Yan eventually gives up on the dilemma when it didn't make sense. Besides, she can always get the answer directly from her 3 shifas. I understand the situation now. First tell me where my brother is, I will go see him. The Bai house want to make a move against my brother. Humph. That will depend entirely on whether or not they have the ability first. Bai Zhanpeng. Bai Yan Pric, ket her brows at the name. Where's the letter? Since the charming woman has been carrying the item on her at all times, it didn't take long for Hualuo to hand over the letter. With a tear, Bai Yan made quick work of the contents inside. According to the letter, it was message telling her about how the man had to leave first and could only use this method to bid his farewell for now. Aside from that, there's not much else in terms of usefulness. Let's go, bring me to my brother. It's only been a few days since Bai Yan left to help her aunt, yet the looks coming her way from the Sing pedestrians were all carrying the eyes of shock and pity. Kiki, the Holy Land is one of the 3 hidden sects of this world. No matter how strong Bai Yan is, she can never go up against such a power. Gossiping voices could be heard from every corner of the street, making the trip all the more irritating. Oh Miss Bai Yan, where would you be going on this fine day? Due to the familiarity of that voice, Bai Yan didn't even need to think twice about turning around to face the source. Sure enough, it was a middle-aged man leading a fat little boy by his side, and due to the chicken leg and pig trotter in each hand, the young lad looked awfully dirty there. As friends, it's only normal to want to give each other an embracing hug to show off their friendship. However, it's unlikely anyone would want to be smothered in sweat and oil by the same sex, and a super fat one at that. If you like this translation, then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Endure. 2. Oh Xiachen, I missed you to death. Where have you been during these past couple of days? I went to your house before, but your auntie there said you were away. I heard the people of the Holy Land came to our city. I and my father are going there to see. A humph. Coughing hard and loud to stop his son from making the situation even more awkward, Wuxiao carefully eyes the woman for signs of anger. Miss Bai Yan, I'm sure you've heard of the matter with the Holy Land already. So I like to ask, do you know about the Bai house getting on the good side of that power? Still smiling on her face, Bai Yan didn't mind the carelessness of the child at all. It seems that everyone knows already. This, as awkward as it was, Wuxiao nevertheless lays down his support. I know I can't help you much at all, but I do have a lot of money. If you and the Bai house are going to confront each other, then I can support your side financially. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. He's a businessman in and out. So what's the biggest concern for his kind? Of course it's benefits. To provide funding without any monetary gain in return, how can he be fine still? But, deliberately lowering his voice, I suggest you not clash with the Bai house for now. First bide your time until the dust settles. After all, they have the Holy Land on their side. Endure it for now. Seeing the kind man's cautious appearance, Bai Yen didn't have the heart to reject the suggestion and went with the flow. Okay, I understand. Getting the answer that he hoped for, the greedy merchant couldn't be happier. You are young anyways, there's bound to be other opportunities around. And if you can somehow catch their fancy, you might even be able to become a core disciple of the Holy Land. Of course, for someone like Bai Yen who doesn't belong to any of the mentioned groups above, it just goes to show how special her existence was within the Holy Land. Caressing her chin in thought, Bai Yen then snorted in amuse. Ement, is there anything else? If not, then we will first take our leave. Oh wait, there is one more thing I need to tell you. First sweeping his gaze around for signs of others, Wuxia then went ahead to speak in a whispering voice after confirming there's no eavesdroppers. According to a reliable source of mine, the elders of the Holy Land is also coming. If Miss Bai Yen you are willing to endure for the next couple of days, I'm sure you would be able to catch their fancy by using your means. When that occurs, what else do you have to fear? Aha hump. Coughing hard at the last part of that sentence, Bai Yen couldn't resist making a strange face at that statement. Heaving a long sigh, Wuxia really had to hand it to the Bai house. Nangong Lin's secret had only recently been exposed before the world, now they are already making waves across the kingdom after a couple of days. Isn't the deities being too gracious towards them? Thank you for your kindness. Twitching in her mouth, Bai Yen didn't have the heart to burst the man's bubble. I understand. If you like this translation, then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Endure. 3. Though Bai Yen did not explicitly say she would endure, but when transferred to Wuxia ear, it somehow turned out that way. Ho, isn't this Bai Yen? You actually have the nerve to come back. Just as she's ready to leave, this eerie voice had caught their attention from the front. Turns out it was Yu Rong coming over with her chin raised higher than the sky. Apparently this foolish woman hasn't learned her lesson yet and intends to make trouble. Bai Yen, I should thank you. If you haven't snatc head away Ditsong, then my daughter wouldn't have been able to enter the Holy Land. That man may be strong, but when compared to the Holy Land, bang. Without indication, the second Yu Rong came into attacking distance, Bai Yen had raised her fist and sent it straight into the woman's face. This blow undoubtedly caught everyone off guard, especially the one receiving it. Flying out like a ragged doll until she hit the cold hard ground, Yu Rong now laid there sprawled to the floor. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation, how annoying. Ignoring the fact that there's still a person in front of them, Bai Yen went ahead and pulled her son along to step right over on top of Yu Rong's body. As a result of this second blow, the injured woman finally splurged out a mouthful of blood and fainted away. Meanwhile in the background, the man was left there with his jaws gaped open. Is this what she considers to be enduring? Wuxia was definitely flabbergasted there. Isn't the fact that the disciple is from the Holy Land strong enough? Just when he was baffled on how to take the girl's odd behavior, Chu Yi also followed suit and stepped over Yu Rong's poor body. Hey father, wiping those greasy hands off with his clothes, Xiaopeng suddenly chimes in, Sister Bai Yen is so cool there. Can you come up with a plan and help them? Of course it's boss. Isn't what father asking just nonsensical? I've long recognized Xiachen as my boss, so of course I would call him that. Annoyed by his son's antics, Wuxia grumpily states his own difficulties. If not for your mistake back at home, then would we have been driven out of the main house? Father, didn't Sister Bai Yen sell you a lot of Dan pills? Why don't you look for grandfather and ask him for an idea? Without Xiachen's mother, then the supplies would be gone too. Likely aware of his father's thought pattern, Xiaopeng immediately got vindictive. Father, if you don't come up with a solution to help, then I will burn your treasury room. You decide for yourself on what you want to do. Livid in his face, Wuxiao really wanted to smack this brat of his. Quit looking at me like that. You may be able to keep watch over your precious things inside for a while, but you can never watch over them forever. When you're not looking, I will sneak inside and burn every crisp of it. Snorting without a pang of fear, the chubby threatens his father like a real boss. Grabbing the boy by the collar, Wuxiao roars out at his son, Damn brat, consider yourself lucky. I will go back and send your grandfather a letter to see if he has a plan. Let's just hope now that your friend's mother there wouldn't go too far and only offend a disciple of the Holy Land and not their elders instead. Otherwise, not even your grandfather would be able to do a thing by then. If you like this translation, then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Endure. 4. The chubby finally breathed a sigh of relief. So long as his grandfather comes forward to adjust the situation, then there would be no issue, generally anyways. Ah! Father, be lighter. I am your son. The poor chubby cries out for mercy. Ho, you still remember you are my son? How come you didn't remember that when you were threatening me just now? If I don't teach you a proper lesson today, then my surname will follow yours instead. The man firmly believes it now. If he doesn't lecture this brat a good one, then it's just a matter of time before he heads to the coffin. But father, you and my surname is the same to begin. Before the poor chubby could even finish that sentence, another major slap had already come falling down, thus sending the boy jerking up and down like someone tossed into a hot frying pan. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Likely caught off guard by this, the man subconsciously shifted his gaze around towards the indicated direction. However, what he saw were nothing but pedestrians and not the reddish female with her son. Then by the time this father returned his focus back to the brat that was his son, the boy was already long gone, disappearing into the crowd without a trace to follow. Enraged at being deceived by a child, Wuxiao furiously roars out, "Stinking brat, just wait till I get my hands on you. I will slap that butt of yours until it flowers." Bai Yan didn't care for the extra attention. Instead, she only followed Hualua's direction up to the second floor, where she found the room in which she's looking for. Even from the outside, she can already hear that familiar sound of her brother's voice. Gently placing her hands on the door knob, she slowly pushes it open and saw the people inside. Bai Xiao was currently seated with his back facing the doorway while his friend Wei Qing sat across from him. The two teens were truly a sight for the eyes. One was cool and calm, the other sharp and handsome. No matter how one compared these two, they are like the contrasting moon and the sun. Though very different, they still gave off a very good vibe. "Sister, you are back." Bai Xiao immediately stood up and welcomed his sister. Still leading his son, Bai Yan gracefully greeted her brother. "Brother, did her grace the dowager hand you the letter I left behind?" Stumping there for a second, Bai Xiao's appears to be struggling for a word. "I've read it, yes." The meaning behind that reply didn't just apply to their blood, it also applied to his mother's death relating to the Bai house. "That's right, my sister is so amazing, so how can the Bai house be her home? It's more understandable that she's from another family, a better one." "Brother, since you know already, then let us go to the Bai house now. I want to pay them back for all the sins and grievances they instilled upon us and mother." If you like this translation, then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Revenge for you. 1. Furrowing her brow, Bai Yan was slightly taken aback by the teen's request. "What are you planning to do?" "I want to partake. I ate in the Holy Land's recruitment compet. Tie-in." His tone was firm there. Matched with that handsome face smeared by the tearing light from the outside, it was almost impossible for the female sex to deny him. "Give me a reason on why you must take the test then." As unwilling as she was to the idea, Bai Yan nevertheless gives her brother the benefit of the doubt and asked for the reason. Nangong Yi. Caressing her chin, Bai Yan's narrowed-in gaze was exuding a dangerous light like she's plotting something evil. From what I remember, Nangong Yi has been crippled by Di Tsang, hasn't he? How could he still compete? Tell me, brother, what has happened during the past few days while I was away. Sister, you don't have to worry about these things. Just believe in me, I won't embarrass myself in front of the public. He may say that, but those tightly clenched fists said otherwise of his confidence. Perhaps it's the persevering look of her brother there, or just the trust she held for him, but she nevertheless agreed. Showing a faint smile, all right, no matter what you two intend to do, I will always support you. Therefore, I will give you a couple days until I make my move. By then it will be the end of the Bai house once and for all. Uncle, these are for you. Rummaging through his pocket, the baby boy suddenly pulls out all of the medicinal bottles in his possession for the lad. That's all of my snacks, uncle. You must win, okay? Let all those baddies know mother's brother is also very powerful. Watching the plentiful amount of precious pills in his hands, Bai Xiao genuinely felt happy from within. I will not lose. If I lose now, then what qualifications do I have to stand behind her in the future? For that, I can never lose. Son, let us leave for now then. Casting a final glance at her brother, Bai Yan nevertheless departs from the room, knowing full well this was not the time to be distracting the boy. Bai Xiao, why are you so dead set on this recruitment compet? Tian. We don't even know what sort of medicine that person gave to Nangong Yi to make him recover. What if you can't beat him? Taking all of it in, Wei Qin can understand why his friend would want to do something to prove himself, but did it have to be in this fashion? No. I will win. Bai Zhao's expression became dreadfully cold. Those people only became so rampant because of Bai Ji's connection with that man from the Holy Land. If I can become a member of that power, then I can protect her again. Then why didn't you tell your sister that it's for her that you are partic? Aiding. Facing the direction of where Bai Yan left, the lad's sharp gaze eventually softened up. With my understanding of her personality, she would definitely stop me from entering the compet. Tian, if it was for her sake. If you like this translation, then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Revenge for you, too, what's more. Pausing to collect his thoughts, Bai Xiao reaffirms his stance. I haven't misplaced my words there either. Bai Ruo already paid the price that day in the palace, but Nangong Yi is still flaunting about thanks to the help of the Holy Land. I can't allow him such freedom. That's why I want to defeat him in public. I must shame him like he did to my sister. Bai Xiao, we are brothers. If there's anything you need, then say it, I will certainly be the first to help. Meanwhile, back outside, Bai Yan was currently strolling through the crowded streets when her senses picked up a dangerous gaze shooting her way. Faintly frowning at first, her alarmed body quickly relaxes after realizing who it was. It was Bai Ji sitting atop of the second floor in a restaurant. Filled with hatred in her eyes, this bald girl with the word bitch deeply engraved on her forehead was every bit like her sister Bai Ruo, just rougher and more vicious. No need, retracting her gaze, Bai Yan dismisses the killing intent and moves on. I said I will give my brother several more days to handle his matter. It's fine even if the Bai house lives for a bit longer. But, puckering her dainty little lips, the demon princess appears to be aggrieved by the fact that she can't clobber the enemy. Your brother will be coming back soon. Sure enough, this sentence instantly shuts the naughty lass up and even made her get all teary. Sister-in-law, can you not mention my brother? Just the thought of him would make me scared. Is your brother really that scary? Raising a smirk, Bai Yan was rather intrigued by this strange behavior. How can you say he's not scary? It's unsure what Di Xiaowan was remembering as a result of that question. However, that aggrieved face and timid appearance showed how close to crying she was. Even those legs were shivering hard. Did he hit you? Bai Yan asks with a brow raised. Well, no. He never hit me, pursing those pink little lips, the demon princess deliberately puts on a pitiful face. I don't know why either. Whenever he comes around and stand before me, I would always fall into a stumbling fright just from his aura. Did you know? Only you and little Xiachen are not afraid of my brother. Such a brother, who wouldn't be scared? Revealing a touch of confusion by the explanation, Bai Yan didn't quite agree with the girl's view. Sure, Di Tsang definitely had a strong gloomy aura that can intimidate anyone, but to instill fear? That's sort of stretching it in her opinion. Sister-in-law, my brother treats you and Xiachen especially different. So, I'm certain he would never scare you. This translation is only hosted on Katranslation. Your brother keeps reminding me of how he wants to chop off my arms and legs, now you say he doesn't try to scare me? If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Revenge for You. 3. Di Xiaowan was so shocked by the news that she didn't even realize how big her beautiful eyes were popping. Not missing how startled her friend there was, Chu Yi immediately chimes in with her enchanting ways. Oh Di Xiaowan, turns out your brother is such a ferocious man that he's totally different from my brother who is kind and gentle. Did I mention he would even pluck the stars from the starry sky for her? Unamused by the comparison, the demon princess quickly fires back with her own argument. If your brother is so capable then why hasn't he won over sister-in-law's heart yet? I bet they never even shared a kiss yet while I personally saw my brother doing it. This translation is only hosted on Katranslation. Stunned by how quick-witted the Dumbaklutz was here today, Chu Yi really had the urge to smash her own head in for taking the opponent so lightly. It's getting late. If you two want to continue arguing then we're leaving first. P.R.I.C. King her brow, Bai Yan didn't forget to leave behind her last remark to the demon princess. Oh yes, I will pass on what you said just now to your brother. Inside the private room of the restaurant, Bai Ji's expression was somewhat twisted after retracting her gaze from the street. Ji. Not missing the extreme change in the girl's face, the man sitting across from her quickly wrinkles his forehead in response. Is something wrong? The question definitely had an effect on relieving the girl's mood. Returning her eyes over to the handsome young man, Bai Ji starts getting all teary like how her sister usually does. Brother Lu, I just saw Bai Yan, the woman I've told you about. It wasn't enough for her to frame my sister Bai Roa, now she also wants to clear out my family in its entirety. Then as if that wasn't enough, the girl deliberately lowers her head while biting that lip, making her look all the more weak and pitiful. Mother always said men like those who are more sensible. So, to get to Lu Zifeng's heart, I must learn to be like my sister and copy her ways. Only by snatching his heart will I be able to become a part of the Holy Land. What a good load of bulk. R.P. there. Nevertheless, it had the perfect effect on rousing Lu Zifeng's anger. Gently caressing Bai Ji's face, he warmly pulls her in for an embrace. You mustn't say that to me, Ji. Don't worry, I've already had Nangong Yi consume the forbidden pills I readied for him. During the next month or so, his cultivation will return to its peak prior to his injury. And as an insurance, I also enhanced his powers to a whole new level. Looking up in surprise, Bai Ji almost sounded hesitant there until she realizes what it meant for her future. This. Wouldn't that be bad? What if there's a side effect to the forbidden pills? There is nothing wrong with it. A man who can't even protect his beloved woman doesn't deserve to live to begin with. I, Lu Zifeng, would never allow the woman that I love to leave my arms. With that said, the man then tightens his grip around hers and causes the girl to shyly lower her head in embarrassment. Sighing at that kindness, Lu Zifeng wanted to thank the divine for giving him this wondering girl. Sadly for him, that's no kindness at all, just his misconception. If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Revenge for You. 4. Alright, we will do as you wish. Brother Lu, thank you for believing in me. Getting red and blushy, Baiji never felt so happy before. I originally thought you would also believe I am one of those women after hearing all those rumors. I don't want to keep it from you. The truth is I nearly became Lord Tsang's wife. It wasn't of my own volition back then, rather it was the Queen's will, so I couldn't say no. As bitter as he was over the fact that his woman nearly became another's, Lu Zifeng nevertheless showed his grace by comforting the girl on the shoulder with a pat. I understand, you don't need to explain yourself. A gentle and kind woman like you can never possibly favor a man like Di Tsang. Such a vicious and cruel man like that could never bring you love. Besides, he would have eventually caused you immeasurable pain considering his personality. Lu Zifeng's ideology was that if he loves a woman then he must give her all the trust, even if this means disbelieving everyone else. Furthermore, he not only likes Baiji because of her baldness, rather it's her innocence and straightforwardness that truly draws him in. Despite the grand thoughts running through the man's head, Baiji on the other hand wasn't so kind. Just out of reach from those eyes, the girl revealed a sinister smile that gave no doubt about her true character. Bai Yan, so what if you got the demon beast sect behind your back? That power can never match up to the Holy Land. This time I will make you lose everything and more. Bai Yan didn't have much interest in other people's compet. Tian's here today, many are only here to test their luck and nothing more anyways. Instead, her sole focus was entirely spent on tickling the baby white cat in her bosoms and the two followers that's completely captivated by the show. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Is this standard of a compet? Tian really all that interesting? Her voice was cool and uninterested. I'm only interested in the sort of people coming to partake. P8. After all, I still wouldn't want some bad seeds to mix into the Holy Land. Due to Chu Yi deliberately lowering her voice when replying, none in the audience other than the closest people next to her could hear this. Shrugging at that answer, Bai Yan had nothing more to add. It's reasonable and a good thing, so there's no reason to object. Under the gaze of this enchanting woman, Bai Yan watches on as her brother slowly ascends up to the arena. Without deviation, the boy's opponent was none other than Nangong Yi. Despite it only being a few days since that event in the palace, the man appeared very different here today. Sunken eyes with an aura of death hovering overhead, to say this prince was still the same proud individual from back then was impossible. So that's why, mumbling as if she's figured something out, no wonder Nangong Yi can continue to use his powers after Di Tsang abolished his cultivation. It's because he used a rebirth Dan pill. Smiling at the boy's wish to learn, Bai Yan happily obliged the request. This sort of Dan pill is considered a forbidden item. The effects can indeed restore the individual's powers and even regrow one's limbs, but that also means the side effects are extremely intense. If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Bai Xiao vs Nangong Yi. 1. She's had the privilege of seeing such pills in her previous life, however, due to their harmful nature, she soon destroyed them not long after obtaining them. Smiling at the question, Bai Yan happily obliged the girl's nosy nature. First leaning back to get into a more comfortable position, those who consume such a pill will lose their ability to be reborn after death, meaning their soul can never be reincarnated. Gasping hard at that knowledge, the demon princess never thought such an evil product could exist, nor did she foresee someone like Nangong Yi to go to such an extent. However, such a reaction only applied to Di Xiao Wan, while Chu Yi was emotionless the entire way, solely focused in on the fight that's occurring. A coward like Nangong Yi would never have the courage to consume such an evil product. I'm sure he only did it because someone deceived him. Raising a smirk, Bai Yan can only call this justice. If there's no greed then there's no fault. Such a outcome can only be faulted on the man himself and no one else. Towards her son's question, Bai Yan unconsciously froze for a second. Don't worry, I believe in him. Xiao is my brother, he can't possibly lose to someone like that. Back on the stage, Nangong Yi was currently eyeing his opponent in an eerie manner. Bai Xiao, I never would have fallen into this state if not for your sister's doing. I will kill you and then make her regret for the rest of her life. Unfazed by the threat, Bai Xiao confidently refutes the claim, I won't lose. For my sister, I can't lose. Ho ho, chuckling with a sinister tone in his voice, Nangong Yi appears amused by the boy's resistance, I'm afraid that won't do at all. Bang! Smashing out a palm strike of his own, Nangong Yi then starts laughing maniacally as he swung himself to the side to make a lethal blow to his opponent. Die! Everyone who is related to Bai Yan must die today. While all of this fighting was taking place, Bai Ji on the other hand was currently sitting atop of a high platform outside of the arena. What are you looking at, Ji? It's unsure when Lu Zifeng came around, but his arms had already curled around the girl's waist and pulled her into an embrace. Brother Lu, Bai Yan is also here to watch the fight today. Could you do me a favor and not show yourself in a bit? Due to how tense she was inside, Bai Ji's grip instinctively tightened around the man's arm. Why so? Lu Zifeng asks, bewildered by the strange request. Bai Yan emphasizes power and authority, and you are all of that. I fear she would. Scoffing a laugh, Lu Zifeng dismisses the fear in his woman's heart, Ji, you mustn't let others sway yourself. I like you because of your innocence and gentle heart. Even if that Bai Yan is more beautiful, she can never match up to your good points. With that said, the man then followed Bai Ji's gaze and found the reddish figure in question. From his eyes only disgust could be seen. If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Bai Xiao vs Nangong Yi, 2, a woman's beauty is nothing more than a skin sack in the end. Besides, such a poisonous heart will only be a misfortune for any who marries her. Ji, do you know who that girl is sitting beside the woman? Why do I feel like I've seen her somewhere before? This question instantly causes the black-hearted Bai Ji to tense up. With vigilance in her eyes, she carefully forms a random answer, she is Bai Yan's maid. That's right, that girl is always circling around Bai Yan. If she's not a maid then what else can she be? Did that bitch catch Brother Lu's fancy? So it's just a maid? Exhaling a sigh of relief, Lu Zifeng didn't doubt his love's word at all, if it's just a maid then there's nothing to care about. We can just ignore that group. As a mere inner circle disciple, it's only normal that Lu Zifeng wouldn't have the pleasure of meeting the great princess of his sect. The most would be a passing glimpse of the girl from a far-away distance. After all, considering how vast and huge the Holy Land's territory was, only the core disciples, which resides in the core area of the sect, would have the opportunity to greet the girl under normal circumstances. Just like I thought, that Nangong Yi really is truly useless. By the time this man had shifted his attention back to the arena, the former crown prince was already losing ground and had signs of being overwhelmed. If not for Ji's sake, I would never waste a forbidden pill on such a useless garbage. As frosty and disdainful his eyes were, Lu Zifeng had no compulsion to interfere here. He's long planned for something like this so it's entirely within his expectations. Bai Xiao must die today. Didn't they all say the crown prince? Oh wait, it's the former crown prince of the Lu Hua kingdom now. Didn't they say he's the #1 genius of our kingdom? It's one thing that he couldn't defeat Lord Song, but now he can't even beat a lad that's 6 years younger than himself. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. This former genius really is disappointing. It's no wonder he would sire such a useless son like Nangong Lin. I say, the good genes must be coming from the Lan family's blood. Just look, first there's Bai Yan and now there's Bai Xiao. Then compare those two over to Bai Ruo and Bai Ji, they are like worlds apart. Because of fear for the Holy Land, these people could only whisper these words between themselves. Even so, the gossiping could not evade the prince that's currently fighting atop of the arena. Towards this sudden outburst, Bai Xiao can only make a frown because his opponent had suddenly pulled out a crystal-clear bottle containing a darkly liquid. Ha ha ha. Laughing maniacally after getting a huge boost from the medicine, Bai Yan, I know you are here somewhere watching this fight. I will give you another chance. Become my wife and I will let your brother live. If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Bai Xiao vs Nangong Yi, 3, going cold in his irises, Bai Xiao instantly rushes forward to slash down with his longsword. From what I recall, taking enhancement potions to improve one's strength is forbidden during the combat. Tie-in. Isn't what he's doing equivalent to disregarding the rules? He's crazy, Nangong Yi is truly crazy. The onlookers were all gasping at the scene, wondering if the Holy Land was really that determined to shelter the guy. Unfortunately for the lad that's been taking the lead up until now, Nangong Yi have fully stabilized his newfound powers before the slash could make contact. Showing an almost sadistic smirk, this prince wanted to laugh at the lad's struggle, it's useless. Boom! Following a thunderous palm strike, which landed directly onto Bai Xiao's chest, the boy could barely hold on to his sword by then. Even his mouth was seeping with blood after that attack. This translation is only hosted on K-translation nevertheless, the firmness in those eyes could not be wiped away no matter the injury. The girl's voice didn't even get to die down yet and the bodyguard that came with her on this trip had already kneeled down to report, Princess, according to my knowledge it's a disciple called Lu Zifeng. Lu Zifeng? Who is he? Wrinkling her brow, Chu Yi just couldn't recall who the man was. As such, she completely dismisses the issue and dived right into the problem. I don't know who the heck he is but I do know using a forbidden item is against the rules of our sect. That Lu Zifeng not only secretly ride such an evil product, he also ignored the rules set by my father. Twitching in the corner of his mouth, the white guard can literally feel the sweat dripping down his forehead at this point. Princess, should I go give a warning to that Lu Zifeng then? Warning? There is no need to give him a warning. Go subdue him as soon as this test is over and send him back home. The person needs to be properly disciplined. Still clenching hard on her fist, Chu Yi was determined to remove anyone who dares to tarnish the Holy Land's name. Never diverting her gaze from the arena even until now, Bai Yan was also quite tense at the situation. Let's wait for a bit. As much as she would love to rush down there to put a stop to this farce this instant, this woman knows that cannot be at this time. Otherwise, it will greatly hamper her brother's future achievement. However, if Xiao does become endangered, I will personally make a move. You need not interfere. Lu Zifeng. Inner Circle Disciple. It seems that the Holy Land needs to be cleansed of its bad seeds. The situation within the arena had become very one-sided now. Previously it was Nangong Yi being slowly overtaken, now it's Bai Xiao who's being suppressed at every turn and had the look of being defeated at any minute. Bang! Now that did it. This time Bai Yan can no longer suppress her urge to help, even if this means her brother will resent her for interfering in the future. If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Bai Xiao vs Nangong Yi, 4, but just when she wanted to go take action, Bai Yan suddenly took notice to her brother's figure slowly climbing up from the ring. Brother, Bai Yan murmurs to herself, he really is my brother, exactly just like me. Her feelings were mixed here. She's proud that the boy would be so strong under pressure, but at the same time she's worried that he might really get hurt. Then again, the woman here had no right to say that aloud for she has done the same in the past. Regardless of the dangers ahead, Bai Yan would knowingly jump into the flames just for the sake improving herself. Ha! Cackling a sardonic laugh, Nangong Yi appears amused by the lad's vow, Bai Xiao, if you just admit defeat here then I will let you live. Why so stubborn? Are you intentionally doing this so I can kill you? Unfazed by the temptation, I don't need you to show me mercy. I only need to show the world that my sister has me backing her. That's right, for her, he can exhaust everything in this lifetime. Such a wonderful brother, what more can she ask for? With nothing more to be said there, Bai Xiao once again presses on with his retaliation, aiming his sword straight for Nan Gongyi's heart this time. However, it was useless. Not only did it get deflected by the man's bare hands, the following counter only got worse, like a hail raining down from above. So this is the place that my precious disciple has been living in for all these years? Strolling through the busy streets of the capital, Bai Yan's third shifu, Qiu Shu Rong, was currently making a heavy frown on his face over this picture. The reasoning: it's because the place can't even hold a candle to the amazing environment of their holy land. I can't believe my precious disciple could endure living in such a polluted place for so many years. Boss, old 3, isn't this sort of bad to meddle in Yan Yan's affair without her knowledge? The one saying this was none other than Ren Yi, that's walking in the middle of them 3. He's the second shifu and he appears quite worried and nervous. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. It's already a great gift from the heavens that their precious apprentice would be so capable, even their alchemy was taught by the Lais S. Now that she's in trouble, it would be a sin to not step in and take the charge in fending off any bastard who dares to soil her good soul. Boss, old 2, slightly wrinkling his brow, Qiu Shu Rong suddenly offers up a suggestion. Didn't our holy land send someone to recruit people in this kingdom? Why don't we go over there and see what's happening? I'm sure the event would have caught our Yan Yan's attention. Okay, that idea is the best thing you've said all day. Nabbing a pas Serbi out of convenience, Ren Yi, second shifu, then makes a quick inquiry about their upcoming destination. Where is the palace of your kingdom? Due to how hurry they were in rushing over, the 3 elders had disregarded the act of bringing an entourage with them. Adding in the fact that they had no idea of the layout of this place, they summed the compet. Tian must be within the palace grounds based on previous cases. If you like this translation, then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Bai Xiao's breakthrough. 1. All of you are going to the palace. For what? Don't these old bones know the palace grounds can't be traceable? Said by just anyone. In truth, Ren Yi, second shifu, and his 2 brothers here had seen the bastard's portrait before, but due to how haggard the person before them were, they just couldn't recognize him. Moreover, there's bound to be some difference from a picture to the real person. That's why it's normal these 3 elders couldn't recognize the middle-aged man. Of course it's to search for someone we know. Tell me right away where to look. Due to how urgent Ren Yi was inside, he had somehow missed the contemptible gleam emulating out of the man's iris. Going to the palace to find someone? As if that would be true. I bet they are here after catching wind of the Holy Land's recruitment, that's why they are here. Snickering in his mouth, Bai Zhengxiang clearly didn't believe their story. Lighting up at the claim, the second elder became overjoyed. Really? We are looking for Bai Yan. Do you know if she's in the palace right now? Bai Yan. Sure enough, the name instantly causes the bastard's complexion to change dramatically. These old bones are actually here to seek out that unfilial girl. Can it be they are in some sort of illicit relationship? Otherwise, why else would they come so far to see her? With that thought in mind, Bai Zhengxiang then takes another careful look at the elder's face. Due to how red and excited Ren Yi was in his face, the bastard's summed it must be true despite it being only his one-sided opinion. Everyone, I advise you to stay away from her, otherwise you might get involved with more trouble than you can handle. Raising a contemptible smirk, this shameful example of a father then puts on the air of superiority. Bai Yan has offended one of the disciples from the Holy Land, so she won't be able to survive much longer. I'm only advising you three out of kindness based on your old age. Turn back now before it's too late. Bai Jingxiang would of course not do this out of kindness. He's only worried that the girl would eliminate these three once they seek her out. A dead person can't talk, meaning he won't have any evidence to prove their illicit relationship if she kills them on the spot. Therefore, the only option left was to trick them to his home. Only at the Bai house will he be able to use them to his bidding. As nice as the idea was for the BASTRD across from them, Ren Yi and his two brothers behind him were all showing a strange light in their eyes at the claim. This translation is only hosted on Translation by Yen offended a disciples of the Holy Land. What the heck is that? There's actually a dumb enough disciple within the ranks to provoke her. Lu Zifeng, the BASTRD readily answers with his chin raised into the sky. Lu Zifeng. Who's that? Xiao Shu Rong, third Shifu, was silent for a while before muttering to his brothers, if I remember correctly, the one leading the group over here to the Lu Hua kingdom is called just that. Ha, that Lu Zifeng got quite the gals there. Isn't he? There's not a single core disciple within the Holy Land daring enough to provoke my precious disciple, now a simple outer circle is flaunting about and making up a storm. The guy must be broken in the head or something. If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Bai Zhao's breakthrough, 2, apparently Qiu Shu Rong, third elder, have forgotten something very important here. Not only does most people within the Holy Land not know of Bai Yan's true ident. Even those core disciples have only learned of her existence through the monthly cultivation rations created by the woman at times in the past. Of course, the portions were usually minuscule at best and would warrant a wave of infighting among the core disciples. Since you know Bai Yan then you should also know about the one called Bai Jingxiang. But I am Bai Jingxiang. Go and pass on a message to that Bai Jingxiang for us. Tell him to crawl over here to face his end. Sneering with contempt, the first elder radiated a serious level of killing intent in his old eyes, also, which way is to the palace? Now that greatly startled the BASTRD in question. Confused by the intimidating appearance, he begins to wonder about these three's background. Nevertheless, he answers honestly to the last question after making a heavy gulp, go straight 500 meters to the east, then turn west. The palace should be 800 meters in that direction. But before the three elders were gone from view, Qiu Shu Rong, third elder, didn't forget to send another glance back at the BASTRD, remember to pass on that message for us. Go tell that Bai Jingxiang to crawl over to the palace within the next hour. If he's late even by a minute then we will show him what it means to cross us. The man was literally flabbergasted there. Growing a little white, the BASTRD shoots back a question in response, don't you three know Bai Jingxiang's ident? Nothing but a SEUM, what status could he possibly hold? Showing a contemptible sneer, the third elder completely shuts the BASTRD's mouth up with his overwhelming aura. It's not that Bai Jingxiang doesn't want to fight back against that downplay of himself, but anyone would learn after suffering so many losses over a short period. As such, he subconsciously endured the humiliation. Nothing but an inner disciple only, he actually dares to say the Holy Land is his territory. Quit dreaming. Frowning by now, the third elder finally loses his patience, and you are too talkative. Go and pass on the message, that's all. Despite the rude demand, Bai Jingxiang didn't have the courage to refute it. Even so, the gloom hovering within his eyes cannot be hidden which instantly exploded into a furious rage as soon as the three elders were gone. Damn it. Just based on you three that you think I would crawl over there to face my end? Just wait, I have the Holy Land as my backer. When the time comes I will make you all beg in front of me. Elders, you are finally here. This is so great, we've been waiting here for a while now under Sir Lu's instruction. As soon the sight of the three seniors were spotted, these men had rushed over to pay their respect. In light of the warm reception, Ren Yi, second elder, only got cold in his snickering smirk. It seems someone have leaked our travels from within. Nothing but a lowly character and he dares to perceive our whereabouts. Like his brother, Chiu Shu Rong, third elder, also got extremely rude in his remark, and why did he not receive us at the city's gate if he knew we were coming? Is he looking down at us three? By now the head guard was already swelling with sweat across his forehead. Did Sir Lu offend these three elders? How come they seem so menacing in their words? If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Bai Xiao's breakthrough. 3. Dear elders, Sir Lu he only just received the letter. Before the guard could even finish his sentence, Zheng Qi, first elder, had already bypassed, said the fool to head into the palace. Back over at the compet. Tian Field, Bai Xiao was quickly losing stamina under the constant barrage of attacks from his opponent. Come on, show me whatever ability you have left. Twisted in his maniacal grin, Nangong Yi reveals an unnerving level of madness in those eyes. As you wish then. Without hesitation after feeling the energy swarming back into his muscles, Bai Xiao tosses aside his already destroyed sword and dashes forward once again. Just like the first strike he did at the beginning of this fight, he's relying solely on his own internal strengths to attack this time. Bang! Getting blown away by the aftershock of their palm strikes meeting, this time the lad wasn't so fortunate and felt one of his arms go limp. It's quite apparent a part of his shoulder joint had been dislocated. Even so, Bai Xiao didn't retreat or cower at the intense pain. Popping another pill this time to make a swift recovery, he charges forward a second time like a general that doesn't know defeat. So you want to compete with me in using pills? Fine. Alas, Nangong Yi's strength was gradually starting drain as the fight dragged on, especially after taking a direct blow from his own carelessness not long after. No. I can't lose to the likes of you, impossible. Bloodshot in his eyes, the flaws are quickly showing itself in Nangong Yi's movements. Not missing the change, Bai Xiao immediately followed his instincts and made a punch for the man's face. Sure enough, it landed without any difficulty and even knocked out some of the teeth as his foe rolled across the floor. Then at the same time as this occurred, a massive influx of energy suddenly converged on the lad's body. This was the sign of someone making a breakthrough and not a small one either because even the air in the sky was starting to gush towards their location. Feeling the power surging across his veins, the lad swiftly sat himself into a meditative position to stabilize his new strength. After half a ring, the excessive energy was expelled through the top of his head and thus bringing the boy into a whole new level altogether. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Sister, I said it, I won't lose. After opening his eyes, the first person the lad wanted to see was his very own sister sitting in the audience seat. That's right, I said I will protect you, so how can I lose at the very beginning? Though Bai Xiao didn't say this last part aloud, but the gentle smile from his handsome face was more than enough to convey his feelings. Unfortunately for this pair of siblings, a certain little steam bun wasn't very happy at their conversation. Tugging at his mother's sleeve, Bai Xiachen puts on a pitiful expression when asking, Mother, if uncle is your pride then what am I? If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Revenge for you, too, what's more. Pausing to collect his thoughts, Bai Xiao reaffirms his stance, I haven't misplaced my words there either. Bai Ruo already paid the price that day in the palace, but Nangong Yi is still flaunting about thanks to the help of the Holy Land. I can't allow him such freedom, that's why I want to defeat him in public. I must shame him like he did to my sister. Hearing these murderous words from his friend, Wei Qin could only stop trying to persuade him. He knows nothing can change the boy's mind now. Bai Xiao, we are brothers. If there's anything you need then say it, I will certainly be the first to help. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Meanwhile back outside, Bai Yen was currently strolling through the crowded streets when her senses picked up a dangerous gaze shooting her way. Faintly frowning at first, her alarmed body quickly relaxes after realizing who it was. It was Bai Ji sitting atop of the second floor in a restaurant. Filled with hatred in her eyes, this bald girl with the word bitch deeply engraved on her forehead was every bit like her sister Bai Roa, just rougher and more vicious. Sister-in-law, just wait for me here, I will go teach that girl a lesson so she doesn't show her face around us again. Displeased by the unpleasant-looking shooting their way, Di Xiaowan immediately curled up her sleeves in preparation for a big fight. No need, retracting her gaze, Bai Yen dismisses the killing intent and moves on. I said I will give my brother several more days to handle his matter. It's fine even if the Bai house lives for a bit longer. But, puckering her dainty little lips, the demon princess appears to be aggrieved by the fact that she can't clobber the enemy. Your brother will be coming back soon, sure enough. This sentence instantly shuts the naughty lass up and even made her get all teary. Sister-in-law, can you not mention my brother? Just the thought of him would make me scared. Is your brother really that scary? Raising a smirk, Bai Yen was rather intrigued by this strange behavior. Although Di Tsang tends to favor tactics into scaring others, but according to her own image the man have never taken the threats into practical action. For that reason, she's actually got a decent view of the guy. How can you say he's not scary? It's unsure what Di Xiaowan was remembering as a result of that question. However, that aggrieved face and timid appearance showed how close to crying she was. Even those legs were shivering hard. Did he hit you? Bai Yen asks with a brow raised. Well, no. He never hit me. Pursing those pink little lips, the demon princess deliberately puts on a pitiful face. I don't know why either. Whenever he comes around and stand before me, I would always fall into a stumbling fright just from his aura. Did you know? Only you and little Xiachen are not afraid of my brother. She still remembers it clearly. Years ago when those women in the demon realm were swarming to get near her brother, the man only needed to shoot one threatening stare to scare them all away like frightened rabbits. Such a brother, who wouldn't be scared? Revealing a touch of confusion by the explanation, Bai Yen didn't quite agree with the girl's view. Sure, Di Tsang definitely had a strong gloomy aura that can intimidate anyone, but to instill fear? That's sort of stretching it in her opinion. Sister-in-law, my brother treats you and Xiachen especially different. So, I'm certain he would never scare you. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Originally the demon princess wanted to use this opportunity to be a good assistant to her own brother and make a memorable impression, however, the end result didn't go as she planned and even came back to bite her in the back. Your brother keeps reminding me of how he wants to chop off my arms and legs, now you say he doesn't try to scare me. Shifu is here. 1. From what I remember, the rules of this test is that one cannot intake a potion that can temporarily boost one's own strength. I like to know what's your opinion on Nangong Yi's action then. Faint in her smile, Bai Yen easily points out the fault here. Sweating all over at the inquiry, Nangong Yi gnashes his teeth and simply lied outright, she's framing me. This was no surprise at all because they had already matched their stories prior to the test. Their plan was to refute the claim no matter who asked. I had something to do earlier so I couldn't witness the act myself. Everyone, is there anyone present here who saw what she claims? With that said, Lu Zifeng then swept his threatening gaze around the arena, warning them enough to know what not to say. In reality the man here had been paying close attention to the fight the entire way, right up from the beginning, but there's no way he will admit something so Ning would he? Exchanging a look with their nearest bystanders, those close enough to understand the ins and outs hurriedly denied it, we didn't see it. That's right, if none of us saw it with our own eye then that means there's no proof to back up your claim. Even if you are trying to malign someone, you should at least come up with a better idea. That's right, Bai Yan, this is the influence of power. No matter how hard you work in the future, you can never achieve what I have done today. Making a faint smirk of his own, Lu Zifeng attempts to make the final blow. It's not us in the Holy Land abusing our power to be biased, it's you who can't bring proof to the forefront. Without proof, we can't exactly frame an innocent contestant now, can we? Sister, it was then Bai Shao cuts in due to his urgency. It doesn't matter if I don't enter the Holy Land. I will use my own strength to create a paradise in this world for you and my nephew. This undoubted had a warming effect on her heart. Revealing a stunning smile, Bai Yan halts her brother from further speaking. It's okay, brother, I will take care of this matter. I have my reasons. That said, she then imprints the faces of all those around her, making sure not to miss a single individual. Are you all sure that Nangong Yi didn't take a tabooed drug? No response ever came, only murmuring silence of indecision from this crowd. They fear the demon beast sect and the flower brothel behind this woman, but they also fear the Holy Land even more. Then just when it appears that all hopes were lost for the righteous side, two resounded voices suddenly broke in with appropriate timing. I saw it. I also saw it. Seeking the source by turning around, Bai Yan quickly saw who they were. It was the dowager and a young boy walking through the crowd. Shifu. The young boy shyly cries out for her attention. As the old saying goes, what goes around comes around. This was Nangong Zhuan, the prince who was saved by Bai Yan and Bai Xiachen in the palace a while back. Though the lad has been recognized by Bai Yan as her disciple, but the woman was undoubtedly the worst mentor on the planet. Aside from a name, she has done nothing worthy of her post. Bai Yan can understand why the young prince would side with her here. After all, she did save his life and give him a path to a bright future. But why was the dowager siding with her too? They've only seen each other a couple of times since she returned, hardly worthy to be called a deep relationship. Mother. Nangong Yuan, king, was very agitated by her mother's intrusion. Holy Land Princess, Shao Wan, Demon Princess, turning dark in her smile, Bai Yan cold eyes the crowd before her, write down all their names. Aside from the dowager and my disciple Nangong Zhuan, none of the people here are permitted to ever purchase and drugs from any of our businesses. If you like this translation, then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Shifu is here. 2. Wen Ru's group of alchemists are almost ready, so it's about time the flower brothel opened up its pharmaceutical department. Note, Wen Ru is the boy that lost to Bai Yan during her years traveling and is in charge of training her alchemist division. What? The flower brothel is going to start selling Dan pills and other medicinal drugs? Astonishment, shock, those were the faces made by these cowardly people. Under normal circumstances, the creations of an alchemist would never be made public or for sale, meaning unless you are associated with one, then you can't buy it even with money. But now she's claiming the flower brothel was going to start the process of selling Dan pills and other medicinal drugs to everyone. But the reaction of these people only lasted for that split second before they returned to normal. They are not dumb. No matter how important the products were, it pales in comparison to offending one of the most powerful ties on this land. Then just as the princess of the Holy Land wanted to figure out the best way to blow these ignorant fools away, it was Bai Ji who suddenly cuts in and stopped her. Isn't it just some medicinal pills, what's so great about them? The Holy Land doesn't have much, but we do have plenty of Dan pills in stock. If everyone here needs some, I'm sure we can bring some out for sale. This undoubtedly elated the hearts of those who sided with her. They only did it out of fear for retribution from the man and this girl, so the fact that they would get a benefit out of nowhere was a big bonus. On the contrary though, Lu Zifeng's complexion was starting to turn ugly, but the entire division of alchemists within the Holy Land is under the tight control of the three elders. As much as Lu Zifeng loved the straightforwardness of his woman there, he simply can't shirk off the awful feeling slowly clinging to his back right now. For many years now he's been a disciple of the Holy Land, so understands full well how difficult that task was. Forget about coming face to face with the three elders, just getting an audience from afar was nearly impossible for himself, let alone someone that's not even related to the Holy Land yet. Meanwhile, on another end, Chu Yi was in the middle of pulling out her identification token when she overheard this idiotic statement. Due to how startled the princess was, the girl actually dropped the badge to the ground in her moment of loss. This, how whimsical can she get? After bullying the elder's only disciple for so many years, she still wants them to like her. Chui Yi almost wanted to cut open the bitch's head right now to see if there's even anything inside. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Sir Lu, the elders are here, the chief elders are here. What are the chief elders? It's a status given only to those that are beyond the level of a regular elder, meaning even the sect leader of the Holy Land must be polite in front of them due to their undying service and loyalty. Initially the man was quite irritated due to his puzzlement at the familiarity of that token, but upon hearing who has come, his irritation instantly transformed into elation. Before long, 3 elders with 3 different styles were soon within viewable distance. This should have been the best thing he ever saw in his life, yet Lu Zifeng got the strange sensation that the 3 elders were coming at him with a very aggressive air. If you like this translation, then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Bai Xiao vs Nangong Yi. 1. She's had the privilege of seeing such pills in her previous life, however, due to their harmful nature, she soon destroyed them not long after obtaining them. Sister-in-law, what are the side effects of these rebirth Dan pills that you mentioned? Casting the woman a glance, Di Xiao Wan sounded very curious in her voice. Smiling at the question, Bai Yan happily obliged the girl's nosy nature. First leaning back to get into a more comfortable position, those who consume such a pill will lose their ability to be reborn after death, meaning their soul can never be reincarnated. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Gasping hard at that knowledge, the demon princess never thought such an evil product could exist, nor did she foresee someone like Nangong Yi to go to such an extent. However, such a reaction only applied to Di Xiao Wan, while Chu Yi was emotionless the entire way, solely focused in on the fight that's occurring. A coward like Nangong Yi would never have the courage to consume such an evil product. I'm sure he only did it because someone deceived him. Raising a smirk, Bai Yan can only call this justice. If there's no greed, then there's no fault. Such a outcome can only be faulted on the man himself and no one else. Mother, using his pitiful eyes, Bai Xiachen tugs at his mother's sleeve. Would uncle be in danger then? Towards her son's question, Bai Yan unconsciously froze for a second. Don't worry, I believe in him. Xiao is my brother, he can't possibly lose to someone like that. Back on the stage, Nangong Yi was currently eyeing his opponent in an eerie manner. Bai Xiao, I never would have fallen into this state if not for your sister's doing. I will kill you and then make her regret for the rest of her life. Unfazed by the threat, Bai Xiao confidently refutes the claim, I won't lose. For my sister, I can't lose. Ho ho, chuckling with a sinister tone in his voice, Nangong Yi appears amused by the boy's resistance. I'm afraid that won't do at all. With nothing more to say, the young lad was the first to make a move. Drawing his long sword, he charges forward like a bristling breeze, smooth and precise. Bang! Smashing out a palm strike of his own, Nangong Yi then starts laughing maniacally as he swung himself to the side to make a lethal blow to his opponent. Die! Everyone who is related to Bai Yan must die today. While all of this fighting was taking place, Bai Ji on the other hand was currently sitting atop of a high platform outside of the arena. What are you looking at, Ji? It's unsure when Lu Zifeng came around, but his arms had already curled around the girl's waist and pulled her into an embrace. Brother Lu, Bai Yan is also here to watch the fight today. Could you do me a favor and not show yourself in a bit? Due to how tense she was inside, Bai Ji's grip instinctively tightened around the man's arm. Why so? Lu Zifeng asks, bewildered by the strange request. Bai Yan emphasizes power and authority, and you are all of that. I fear she would. Even if Bai Ji didn't finish her sentence, that doesn't mean her man there wouldn't pick up on the girl's worry. Scoffing a laugh, Lu Zifeng dismisses the fear in his woman's heart. Ji, you mustn't let others sway yourself. I like you because of your innocence and gentle heart. Even if that Bai Yan is more beautiful, she can never match up to your good points. With that said, the man then followed Bai Ji's gaze and found the reddish figure in question. From his eyes only disgust could be seen. Face slapping, 2, the little princess is within the Lu Hua kingdom. Why am I not aware of this at all? Che, how can a simple princess of royalty be enough to make those elders there address her as so? From what I hear, the young miss of the Holy Land is also called Little Princess by those inside. How can the young lady of the Holy Land be at our kingdom? Impossible. I'm betting it must be someone else that they are talking about. Ignoring the gossiping voices around, Zheng Qi, first elder, first brushes his sleeve to make himself look better before heading over to Bai Yan's location. Towards the sudden encroachment by the three seniors, Bai Xiao instinctively moved in front of his sister to act as a shield. Though the three appears quite friendly on the surface, but the actions of Lu Zifeng had tarnished his image of that power, that's why he would be so defensive here. Can the three of you control that aura of yours? What if you frighten my brothers with it? What sort of existence were the elders of the Holy Land? It's a status that demands respect from all that's not of their equal. Therefore, for Bai Yan to make such a demanding request so out of the blue, it's within expectations that the crowd would be popping their eyes in shock. This woman, it really begs to wonder if she's just plain stupid or simply daring to the core. Does she not know the three in front of her can squash her like a bug if provoked? Revealing a flicker of vicious light in her eyes, Bai Ji could already see the picture of her half-sister being turned into a puddle of blood. Mistake, it's our mistake. We forgot this isn't the Holy Land. Contrary to popular belief, instead of dishing out the proper punishment like everyone thought, the three seniors actually receded their aura as asked. The blame really can't be on the regular people here, they just aren't accustomed to this sort of behavior from those of such high stature. This. What the hell is going on? Though faint, but their hearts are starting to be gripped with a sense of unease, especially for those involved with framing Bai Yan and her brother just now. They didn't even have the courage to face the reddish figure of the woman at this point, for an impossible idea was starting to sprout in their minds. But before anything could be confirmed, a loud exclaiming scream from one side had caught their attention. It was Chu Yi jumping downward to pick up her identification token. Then, as if that steamy face wasn't enough, the La-S then shot an angry yet distressed glare at the three old-timers like they did the most heinous crime in the world. It's all your fault. This token was personally engraved by my father, what if it got scratched just now? If anything happens to it, then I'm blaming you three. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Not many may know this, but the foolish man definitely does. In this world, to be able to use the surname Chu and receive special treatment from the three chief elders can only be one. Little Princess. A heavy gasp escapes his mouth following this realization. Forget about being pale, forget about being ghostly white, his complexion was literally a dead man's face this time. Horror. Fear. That's the sort of words that can come remotely close to what Lu Zifeng was feeling right now. You're the little princess, Chu Yi. He was already wondering from before why the girl would appear so familiar in his memories, now it made perfect sense. And on top of this explosive piece of information, his brain also remembered another important fact. In the entirety of the Holy Land, there's only one person that can make the little princess tag along like a little follower. Shifting his gaze over from Chu Yi to Bai Yan, Lu Zifeng's very own fear was attempting to hinder him from believing the answer in which he already knew. It's too obvious and too surreal. If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Face slapping. 3. It was a few years ago. Lu Zifeng still remembers it clearly what his Shifu told him on the day of that person's entry into the Holy Land. Zifeng, you mustn't go provoking that person no matter what occurs. Otherwise, not even I, your Shifu, can protect you from the wrath of the 3 elders. It's over. If Bai Yan truly is the one mentioned back then, the only outcome awaiting me would be an ending worse than death. Brother Lu, what did you just say? Bai Ji's eye was popping hard like it's out to fall out. How could Bai Yan's little follower be the Holy Land's own princess? Based on what can she make such a prestigious person be her own personal attendant? This is absolutely impossible. Like the foolish girl, the rest of the crowd had also caught wind of Lu Zifeng's outburst there. However, more were inclined towards disbelief than being shocked at the truth. While this state of confusion continued on for a bit longer, it was Qiu Shurong's, 3rd elder, next sentence that shattered it and indirectly slapped Bai Ji across the face. Little princess, the Lord has tasked me to bring you a message on his behalf. He said that once you are done playing then you should go back, lest you bring unnecessary trouble for Yan Yan. In light of the kind and gentle face the elder was making, it somehow carried an almost malicious intent for some reason, like it was meant for someone else. No. I will not believe this. Nothing but a follower of Bai Yan's, how could she be the little princess of the Holy Land? Brother Lu, tell me please, tell me this is impossible. Shaking her head in self-deceit, Bai Ji's palish face showed how dreadful her emotions were right now. All of you must be lying to me, right? Bai Yan brought so much pain to my family and to me. How can she be gifted with all these good things when she did so much evil? As painful as this was, Lu Zifeng could do nothing but close his eyes in acceptance. Ji, I'm sorry, I fear I'm unable to help you this time. That girl really is the princess of our sect. Even up to this point, this foolish man still didn't place the blame on the girl. That's right, my precious Ji is so kind-hearted and good inside, how can I possibly blame her for this ending? Finally, with the last pillar of support on her mind crumbling into nothingness, the disgusting girl had gradually fallen to the ground, her body trembling while she wept silently like a pitiful child. How can the world be so cruel? How can Bai Yan be so lucky when she's nothing but Aslut's daughter? Why? That's right. It's Bai Yan, that dirty warehouse he stole everything from me. Ha ha ha, tightening her fist until it's a clenched-up ball, she slowly got up with a poisonous tint in her eyes. So this is all the Holy Land can amount up to. To have your very own princess become a personal attendant for someone of such low standard, it's baffling how your sect can even come this far. The people were shockingly stunned by this sudden outburst, their lips quivering with fear from the maddening insults thrown out by that foul mouth. This translation is only hosted on Ka-Translation by Ji. Like the rest, Lu Zifeng practically screamed with horror in his eyes. Originally the man was still trying to come up with a plan to help his woman escape this situation, but that was instantly crushed when the crazed girl unexpectedly threw out this bombshell of a sentence. In his panic, Lu Zifeng could only rush up to cup that mouth from saying more. First Elder, Ji is only a tad overly straightforward, she. Bang! Before any more excuses could be made, the senior had already sent a palm strike right out and blew the ignorant man across the arena and into the crowded seats. If you like this translation then please turn off your ad blockers, it really helps. Bai Xiao vs Nangong E4, but just when she wanted to go take action, Bai Yan suddenly took notice to her brother's figure slowly climbing up from the ring. I said it, I will not lose. My dignity and pride can never permit me to lose to the likes of you. Wiping away the blood from the corner of his mouth, an ever-growing light of conviction was brewing in the lad's eye, which had the direct consequence of freezing his sister's footstep on the spot. Brother, Bai Yan murmurs to herself, he really is my brother, exactly just like me. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Her feeling were mixed here. She's proud that the boy would be so strong under pressure, but at the same time she's worried that he might really get hurt. Then again, the woman here had no right to say that aloud, for she has done the same in the past. Regardless of the dangers ahead, Bai Yan would knowingly jump into the flames just for the sake improving herself. Ha! Cackling a sardonic laugh, Nan Gongyi appears amused by the lad's vow. Bai Xiao, if you just admit defeat here, then I will let you live. Why so stubborn? Are you intentionally doing this so I can kill you? Unfazed by the temptation, I don't need you to show me mercy. I only need to show the world that my sister has me backing her. That's right, for her, he can exhaust everything in this lifetime. Using the wind and air as its mean, the words were like a current of warmth, filling Bai Yan's heart from top to bottom. Such a wonderful brother, what more can she ask for? With nothing more to be said there, Bai Xiao once again presses on with his retaliation, aiming his sword straight for Nan Gongyi's heart this time. However, it was useless. Not only did it get deflected by the man's bare hands, the following counter only got worse, like a hail raining down from above. So this is the place that my precious disciple has been living in for all these years? Strolling through the busy streets of the capital, Bai Yan's third shifu, Qiu Shu Rong, was currently making a heavy frown on his face over this picture. The reasoning: it's because the place can't even hold a candle to the amazing environment of their holy land. I can't believe my precious disciple could endure living in such a polluted place for so many years. Boss, old 3, isn't this sort of bad to meddle in Yan Yan's affair without her knowledge? The one saying this was none other than Ren Yi, that's walking in the middle of them 3. He's the second shifu and he appears quite worried and nervous. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Didn't you read Yi Yi's letter and the terrible state our apprentice is in? As her shifus, how can we not come in person to support our one and only disciple? Zheng Qi, first shifu, sighed after saying that. It's already a great gift from the heavens that their precious apprentice would be so capable. Even their alchemy was taught by the lass. Now that she's in trouble, it would be a sin to not step in and take the charge in fending off any bastard who dares to soil her good soul. Boss, old 2, slightly wrinkling his brow, Qiu Shu Rong suddenly offers up a suggestion. Didn't our holy land send someone to recruit people in this kingdom? Why don't we go over there and see what's happening? I'm sure the event would have caught our Yan Yan's attention. Okay, that idea is the best thing you've said all day. Nabbing a passerby out of convenience, Ren Yi, second shifu, then makes a quick inquiry about their upcoming destination. Where is the palace of your kingdom? Due to how hurried they were in rushing over, the 3 elders had disregarded the act of bringing an entourage with them. Adding in the fact that they had no idea of the layout of this place, they assumed the competition must be within the palace grounds based on previous cases. Bai Xiao's breakthrough. 1. All of you are going to the palace. For what? It's quite unfortunate, but the one being grabbed it was none other than Bai Zhengxiang, bastard father, and based on that expression he's showing, it's obvious the man was feeling rather impatient at being stopped. Don't these old bones know the palace grounds can't be trespassed by just anyone? This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. In truth, Ren Yi, second shifu, and his 2 brothers here had seen the bastard's portrait before, but due to how haggard the person before them were, they just couldn't recognize him. Moreover, there's bound to be some difference from a picture to the real person. That's why it's normal these 3 elders couldn't recognize the middle-aged man. Of course it's to search for someone we know. Tell me right away where to look. Due to how urgent Ren Yi was inside, he had somehow missed the contemptible gleam emulating out of the man's iris. Going to the palace to find someone? As if that would be true. I bet they are here after catching wind of the Holy Land's recruitment. That's why they are here. Snickering in his mouth, Bai Zhengxiang clearly didn't believe their story. Everyone, making a fake cough, I do have some connections within the palace. Why don't you tell me who you are looking for, maybe I can help. Lighting up at the claim, the second elder became overjoyed. Really? We are looking for Bai Yen. Do you know if she's in the palace right now? Bai Yen. Sure enough, the name instantly causes the bastard's complexion to change dramatically. These old bones are actually here to seek out that unfilial girl. Can it be, they are in some sort of illicit relationship? Otherwise why else would they come so far to see her? With that thought in mind, Bai Zhengxiang then takes another careful look at the elder's face. Due to how red and excited Ren Yi was in his face, the bastard assumed it must be true despite it being only his one-sided opinion. Everyone, I advise you to stay away from her, otherwise you might get involved with more trouble than you can handle. Raising a contemptible smirk, this shameful example of a father then puts on the air of superiority. What do you mean by that? Losing all level of kindness from his face, Ren Yi instantly got very dark. Bai Yen has offended one of the disciples from the Holy Land, so she won't be able to survive much longer. I'm only advising you 3 out of kindness based on your old age. Turn back now before it's too late. Bai Zhengxiang would of course not do this out of kindness. He's only worried that the girl would eliminate these 3 once they seek her out. A dead person can't talk, meaning he won't have any evidence to prove their illicit relationship if she kills them on the spot. Therefore, the only option left was to trick them to his home. Only at the Bai house will he be able to use them to his bidding. As nice as the idea was for the bastard across from them, Ren Yi and his 2 brothers behind him were all showing a strange light in their eyes at the claim. This translation is only hosted on Translation by Yen offended a disciples of the Holy Land. What the heck is that? There's actually a dumb enough disciple within the ranks to provoke her. What is the name of that disciple? Wrinkling his brow, it was Zheng Qi, first Shifu, who asked. Lu Zifeng, the bastard readily answers with his chin raised into the sky. Lu Zifeng. Who's that? Xiao Shu Rong, third Shifu, was silent for a while before muttering to his brothers, if I remember correctly, the one leading the group over here to the Lu Hua kingdom is called just that. Ha, that Lu Zifeng got quite the gals there. Isn't he? There's not a single core disciple within the Holy Land daring enough to provoke my precious disciple, now a simple outer circle is flaunting about and making up a storm. The guy must be broken in the head or something. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.